Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto Uzumaki was kicked out of Konoha part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Get up, you lazy bastard. The man kicked the sleeping, and blissfully unaware, blonde hard in the ribs, causing the boxer-clad man to fall out of bed. Thud. Moaning. Anger. What the hell, you psycho? Naruto groaned from the floor beside his bed. Why the fuck are you waking me up this early? The blonde rose from the floor, cracking his neck sharply. He glared at the man that had dared to disrupt his sleep. His dream had just been getting to the good part. Nothing beats sex in a giant bowl of ramen. The man in question looked much like a beggar that had mugged a rich guy. His hair was unkempt, and the majority of his face was hidden by a large beard. However, his clothes were those of a professional working man. It was the sex and ramen dream again, eh? He stated, smirking at the whiskered blonde. Naruto glowered at him. Tell me what you want or I'll kill you, Kongu, friend or not. It's too early for this shit, Naruto said dangerously, glaring at the wild-haired man. Ma, calm down. You're always so cranky when you... Naruto jumped over the bed at him, procuring a sword out of nowhere. The man named Kongu ducked under Naruto's horizontal swipe and flipped forward into a handstand, attacking with the blades hidden in his sandals. The blonde blocked each strike with the flat of his sword before jumping back over his bed. While still in the air, Naruto put his right foot onto the side of the bed and gave it a push, using the momentum to stick to the wall behind him. The bed slid across the floor at the still upside-down man, who used his arms to push off the ground and over the bed. It crashed into the wall loudly, breaking wood. Naruto jumped off the wall while Kongu was still in the air, attempting to thrust his sword into his chest, but he missed as Kongu's feet stuck to the ceiling and he crouched. Pulling a kunai out of his sleeve, Kongu made to stab the now seemingly defenseless blonde in the face. Naruto saw the kunai come closer and closer to piercing the space between his eyes, as if it were in slow motion. But then, suddenly, there was a bright glint of steel accompanied with the sound of rushing wind. It left as soon as it came, and before he realized it, Kongu fell from the ceiling with multiple cuts all over his body and Naruto's blades sticking out of his chest. Naruto scoffed as he wrenched his sword out of the dead man's chest and flicked the lingering blood off of his sword. TCH bitch, waking me up for this shit, he muttered as he surveyed the damage to his room. It looked as if a mini tornado had swept through it. The destroyed bed had done most of the damage to the wall, but there were scratch marks from his sword as well. And there was blood all over the floor, having leaked from Kongu's body. Fuck. I can't even go back to sleep, he snapped out angrily. Look what you did, you bastard. Naruto kicked the body of the dead man a few times before spitting on it. Sighing in annoyance, he walked over to his slightly scratched dresser and pulled out his usual outfit, which consisted of a tan hakama that was cut off past the knees, and a very loose dark red gi. After quickly slipping on his clothes and his geta, Naruto sheathed his tsurugi into a scabbard before slinging it over his back. He gave himself a once-over in the broken mirror, shit, that's 7 years bad luck, before exiting. As Naruto left the room, it never crossed his mind that it was in fact him that had done practically all the damage to the room, and not the man whom he had murdered. After all, it was easier to blame shit on dead people. It wasn't like they could defend themselves. He was prepared for it as he walked into the bar. Naruto! What the hell was that ruckus up there? She screamed at him. Up there was his apartment. When he had first arrived in this town over a year ago, the then 18-year-old Naruto didn't have any place to stay. He had only a little money, so he had gone to the bar to perhaps drink it away before wandering away again. Right then and there, Saya, the now 17-year-old owner of the bar and the girl who was currently screaming at him, had kicked someone out from the second apartment above the bar for making too much noise and trying to perv on her. It had happened at the most opportune of moments, so Naruto had made Saya a deal that she couldn't have possibly refused. Saya, being as stubborn as she was, refused him. Then, without complaint, Naruto left town for a couple of days, killed a few A-rank missing nin, collected their bounties, and went back to the pretty brunette with the evidence of his strength. Needless to say, Saya accepted his deal wordlessly, having been shocked into silence. Naruto had become Saya's personal ninja in exchange for room and board, as well as 70% of the bounties. It eventually extended to the entire town of Furu. It was like a hidden village with only one ninja. In the end, it worked out for everybody, but much to Saya's dismay, Naruto was perhaps even louder and more perverted than the last resident. She, like most women, hated perverts, and was always in a sour mood when Naruto would decide to go to one of the local brothels or bring a woman home. Saya, apparently, had decided that there was no such thing as a worthy man and that she would die a virgin. So far, she was actually making good progress. Naruto privately thought that it helped that Saya was batshit strong, and no sane man that knew her would try to get laid with her. Naruto, of course, was the sole exception to that rule, though he wasn't so sure that he was sane, so that didn't really count. It also helped that, like he had done with so many other people, Naruto had somehow wormed his way into Saya's heart, though she would never ever admit it. But it had to be true, because despite all the ruckus that Naruto made and all the times he tried to bed her, she had never kicked him out. Perhaps it would be going too far to say that she was in love with him, but she liked him enough to tolerate him, and that was good enough for Naruto. My bad, Dokufu-chan. Kangu woke me up, so I killed him. Naruto replied nonchalantly. Saya bashed her fist on his head. Don't call me that. Saya screamed at him. Can you for once kill someone without ruining your damn room? I hate having to clean up all the blood and dead bodies. Saya, while not a ninja, did have skills in medical ninjutsu. According to her, she had been trained by Tsunade of the Sannin for a short time a long while back. Naruto maintained that he didn't believe her and voiced it quite often, though it was mostly just to piss her off. While Saya's strength was nowhere near as strong as Tsunade's, or Sakura's, it was still beyond what humans could produce without chakra. Naruto smirked at Saya, and the kimono-clad girl huffed in anger and went back behind the bar to serve breakfast to the waiting patrons who looked on in amusement. This was a common occurrence. You know you love me, Saya-chan. Naruto ducked suddenly, avoiding the knife that Saya had hurled at him. It was embedded to the hilt into the wall behind him. Naruto wisely refrained from upsetting the girl anymore. A man chuckled at their actions. Saya turned on him. This is your fault as well, Kangu. Will you do your own damn job for once? Kangu, the man that Naruto had just seemingly killed upstairs, grimaced. Sorry, Saya-san. Kangu replied abashedly. Naruto walked over to the table and plopped down in the seat across the bearded man. Naruto reached his hand out as if he were grabbing something, and produced a cigarette out of thin air, as if he were performing a magic trick. Lighting it up with a snap of his fingers, Naruto took a long drag before blowing the smoke into Kangu's face. To his credit, Kangu did not cough. So you sent another assassin after me, eh? Naruto remarked. Kangu chuckled. You didn't even care to check whether it was really me or not before killing him, did you? Kangu asked the blonde. Naruto just shrugged. Kangu was the bodyguard of the mayor of the town, Saisumi Shubu. As many people in a position of power did, Shubu too had attempts of assassinations upon him. Ever since Naruto came to town, Kangu would offer the assassins an obscene amount of money to go assassinate Naruto instead. The assassins, obviously enamored with the thought of so much money, would unwittingly go after the blonde, against whom they stood no chance. They would get killed, and Kangu wouldn't have to go through the trouble of dealing with the assassins himself. Eventually, it got to the point of it being a game. Kangu would send the assassins with instructions meant to fool Naruto. This time, Kangu had obviously told the assassin to disguise themselves as him, probably to see if Naruto would hesitate before killing him. Same old Naruto. Anyway, I'll cut straight to the point. Shiba-sama's got a mission for you. Kangu informed the smoking blonde. Naruto didn't say anything, so Kangu continued. Apparently, our usual import of sake was stolen. What? Everybody in the bar, aside from Kangu himself, looked at the man in shock. Naruto clenched his shaking fist, before slamming it onto the table. Damn bastards, who was it? He whispered. Who stole my precious? Kangu looked at Naruto for a second, before replying. It was Leaf Nin. Saya froze in shock upon hearing this, looking for Naruto's reaction. The blonde stared at the table with eyes unfocused, probably in as much shock as Saya was, if not more so. It had been so long since he had heard of the leaf, even longer since he had left them behind. Konoha, and Naruto said, trailing off. Naruto had no grudge against the leaf. It wasn't like he was kicked out. He had left of his own accord. Thankfully, Tsunade was still Hokage and had only given him a C-rank bingo book rating, and had never even sent Hunter Nin after him either. It had saved him some trouble. That didn't stop his friends from coming though, but he had kept avoiding them until, slowly, they started giving up. Naruto sighed sadly, and Saya looked at him worriedly as the rest of patrons continued to mutter about the loss of their precious sake. Naruto had only talked of his past to very few people. Saya and Kangu were among them. Kangu stared at Naruto with an indecipherable look on his face. Then, the corner of his mouth twitched. Wahahaha! Kongu erupted in laughter, slapping his palm on the table several times. Apparently, he had been joking. Naruto looked at him with a shocked expression. You should have seen the look on your face. Kongu choked out, holding his stomach as if his guts were about to fall out. Naruto's face darkened slowly. Saya put her face in her palm in exasperation. Kongu, Naruto whispered ominously, as he slowly rose from his seat and reached for his sword. Kongu's laughter slowly died out. You fucking bastard. Ah. Naruto. If you break anything, I'll kill you. Missing Nin from IWA, eh? Naruto commented, that's pretty interesting. Kongu had already left to get back to his job. Thankfully for him, Saya had managed to bully Naruto into not killing him. I'm gonna kill those fucking bastards, Naruto stated, gritting his teeth. Nobody stole his sake. Nobody. No, first I'm gonna seduce their wives and sisters, then I'm gonna fucking kill those bastards. Naruto revised, nodding sagely, yeah, that's a good plan. Saya rolled her eyes at Naruto's so-called good plan. Can you not be so perverted for once, Naruto? It's disgusting enough with Azusa-san, she commented, glaring at him. Naruto smirked mischievously at her. Why? Are you going to sheath my sword, scabbard? Naruto said, his smirk evolving into a grin. Saya's glare evolved from angry to murderous in an instant. However, a bright and bubbly voice interrupted any plans of murder that Saya had concocted. Naruto Naiken. Naruto grinned at the much-needed interruption. He turned to the source of the voice. And speaking of Azusa, yo, Fu! Saisumi Fu was the 9-year-old daughter of Saisumi Shubu and his wife, Saisumi Azusa. Previous to Naruto's presence in town, she had looked up to Saya, dressing exactly like her. Once Naruto had come into town, she had been completely enamored by the blonde and started replicating Naruto's personality, much to Saya's annoyance. It was quite a sight, watching an inebriated 9-year-old Fu trying to hit on women over 2 times her age. Saya had been furious that Naruto let the little girl get drunk, but the spectacle was pretty funny. And even worse was when Naruto used the young girl to get laid with unsuspecting women. While Saya knew that Naruto actually cared for the little brat even though he used her for his own dirty needs, it still annoyed her to no end. She did not want Fu ending up as some sort of brothel girl. Are they big enough yet, Naruto Naiken? Fu asked excitedly. Naruto chuckled nervously, and gave the narrow-eyed Saya a quick glance. Ahaha, not yet Fu, not yet, Naruto said before continuing quickly, desperate to save himself. Are you hungry? Let me treat you. Fu, of course, was ever hungry. People often remarked that her stomach was bottomless. Yeah. Let's eat. Fu chirped happily, despite the fact that she had just eaten before coming here. Saya glowered at Naruto for temporarily evading her question as she went to serve Fu and Naruto some food. She stood back as she watched Naruto and Fu scarf down their food. They kept an even pace for the first few bowls, but eventually, like always, Fu pulled ahead by an obscene amount. To this day, it never ceased to amaze Saya how much that girl could eat. Eventually, after what seemed like several hours, Fu finally finished eating. Manpuka Rentado the bloated Fu began singing, as Naruto and Saya idly talked about his mission. It'll probably take me a couple of days to complete the mission. It's mostly the travel, Naruto stated, being serious with Saya for once. As usual, you have the seal. If anything, well, you know what to do. Pukumin manzo kamio. Saya nodded. Naruto slid his chair back and stood up. Ah, you're going? Fu asked, breaking out of song. Naruto grinned and ruffled her hair, much to her delight. Don't worry, kiddo, I'll be back before you know it. Remember, drink lots and lots of milk, Naruto said before walking over to the door. Fu saluted him. Will do. Naruto, Saya called. Naruto looked back over his shoulder, waiting for her to say something. She hesitated for a moment, unsure of what to say. I be careful, Saya said quietly. Naruto turned to face her completely and grinned brightly. His hair, much longer and wilder than when he was a kid, ruffled with the movement. Don't worry about me, I'm too good for anybody to get me. Splash! Naruto turned around in shock. A few kids were smirking at him, holding water balloons in their hands. Obviously, they had thrown one at him if the sight of his drooping hair was any indication. Blowing raspberries at him, they ran away. You damn kids! Naruto yelled before chasing after them, drawing his sword in the process. I'll chop you to bits. Saya could only smile, as she heard more splashes of thrown water balloons and the terror-filled screams of little kids. That Naruto, she thought fondly. Then she remembered the odd conversation that Fu and Naruto had earlier. Fu-chan, Saya started, turning to the girl, what did you mean by are they big enough yet? Oh, that? Well, the other day, Naruto Niken went to that place with all those women, and when I asked him about it, he said he was having some fun with them. I wanted to have fun with him too, but he said that I needed bigger breasts to have that kind of fun with him. Fu explained, putting her thumb to her chin in a thinking pose. I didn't know what he meant, but since then I've been drinking lots and lots of milk. Saya's face darkened considerably, and her shoulders started quivering. Her head lowered, eyes glaring at the floor beneath her. Saya-nichan? Naruto too. Outside the town of Furu, Naruto grimaced at the scream of what he thought was his name. Shit, Saya's gonna kill me when I get back. Then he smirked, imagining the expression on her face. But damn it if it wasn't worth it. All the gathered ninja and wannabe samurai shared a hearty laugh. Man, we hit the jackpot. Where'd you find all this sake, Kyusuk? Asked one of the IWA missing nin. The man in question stood up. Some merchants were on their way delivering it to some no-name town, and I robbed them without them even realizing it. Kyusuk answered, anyway, we better move quickly. The other men protested immediately. Huh? Why? I want to get wasted, damn it. Kyusuk got annoyed pretty quickly. Shut up, you bastards. If we don't move now, someone might come after the booze. He snapped at his companions. There was a reason why he was the leader of the group and they weren't. The other men just scowled at this. Obviously, they had been expecting to drink all the free sake immediately. Alright, let's move. We'll be taking the mountain path. There's a spot halfway up the mountain where we can set up camp. If we set out now, we can get there by nightfall. Kyusuk informed his team. They grumbled, but did as they were told. Kyusuk was both smarter and stronger than the rest of them. He was the leader for a reason, after all. And if I'm not mistaken, there's also a brothel there as well, he said, grinning at his group as he eyed a young raven-haired fellow approaching them from the distance. If that didn't inspire them, then nothing would. Uhut. Let's go. The golden-haired demon container abruptly stopped. He had been walking non-stop for the past day and finally decided that he would need to quicken the pace, lest the sake thieves moved position too far for him to track. Naruto sat down on a nearby rock and closed his eyes, sitting with his legs crossed. Had anyone come across him, they would have remarked that he might have been meditating. He might as well have been. This particular technique required much more concentration than his other ones, especially as it was a ranged one. Naruto pulled on both chakras available to him, and the ground around him started growing. Wooden pillars grew around the rock, forming a cavernous shape almost like an ear. They tightened, closing any gaps between the wood until it seemed that the half-dome had grown naturally. He was performing a technique thought dead with the first Hokage, wood manipulation. Then, Naruto reinforced his eardrums with his own chakra. Taking a deep breath, Naruto focused both chakras once more, and again, pulled. And the wind rushed. From everything in his path came the voices of the land. Naruto listened with reinforced ears to the lives of people unknown to him, hearing their pleas and platitudes, their compliments and concerns. Hitomi! Come here! Be nice! Run away! Don't worry, son. Daddy's got you. Hey baby, how about me and you? Ah, that hit the spot. Help me! Naruto was bombarded with voices of everything in his path. Shouts, whispers, and random conversation. Moans and groans of pleasure and pain. The joyful shouts, the painful screams, the secretive whispers, nothing was private from him. And Naruto listened on, hearing all the conversations not meant for his ears, whether they were spoken aloud or spoken in whispers. There was a reason that Naruto did not like to use this particular technique often. Such a total invasion of privacy never ever sat well with his conscience. Just the idea that just anybody might hear his conversations was a frightening thought. That was why he only used it in dire situations that called for it. Dire situations like the one he was currently in. After all, sake was pretty fucking important. Find all this sake. Naruto perked up, finally finding what he was looking for. Focusing the yang chakra of the Kyuubi again, Naruto once more pulled on the wind, concentrating on the area from where he had heard of the stolen sake. Naruto waited once more as the wind carried the echoes of his targets. taking the mountain path. The blonde-haired ninja's eyes snapped open, finally finding the information that he was looking for. Judging by the time it took for the echo to get here, I'd say that they're still about 4 hours away, Naruto thought to himself. I'll have to use the giant toad leap. The giant toad leap was a technique that Naruto had devised based upon watching some of the larger toad summons leap around. Naruto had designed it to help traverse long distances in a short amount of time. Basically, it saved him the need to summon one of the larger toads for simple travel. However, this was another technique that he rarely used, as it was often quite dangerous, not to mention taxing on his body. The giant toad leap required a lot of chakra and had a great amount of momentum. The first time he had tried it, Naruto had forgotten to keep his legs reinforced as he landed. He had broken both his legs. Saya had nursed him back to health within a few weeks, which Naruto was thankful for, but the experience had been extremely unpleasant. Saya was pretty good, but she was no Tsunade. There was also the fact that once Naruto was in the air, he couldn't control where he landed unless he found an obstacle in the air. If he landed someplace disagreeable, he'd have to deal with it. That, of course, didn't mean that Naruto didn't have ways to avoid such problems. With enough focus, he could slightly alter the course of his landing using the wind to push him, but again, the technique was difficult enough without all these extra factors, so he only used them when he needed to. Naruto climbed to the top of a large tree, using the basic chakra control exercise to stick to it. Once at the top, he was left impossibly standing on the extremely thin branches that shouldn't have been able to support his weight. Gazing into the distance, he tried to get an accurate measure for where he wanted to land. Far away, Naruto saw a few mountains, with one that had a small building structure halfway up, and he decided to land near the base of that particular mountain. Then he could climb up to that building, and seek refuge before catching up to the sake thieves. Jumping back to the ground, Naruto readied himself. Forcing an enormous amount of chakra to his legs, Naruto bent his knees before pushing off the ground as hard as he could, tearing it up in large pieces as he left it behind. Leaving behind an enormous amount of debris of toppled trees and fractured dirt, Naruto was immediately sent sailing off into the sky above the entire forest. The wind slapped at his face and breathing became harder than usual, so Naruto had to hold in his breath. Naruto had to narrow his eyes in order to see where he was going. The wind was roaring in his ears, preventing him from hearing any other sounds. Naruto had to resist the urge to scream. It wasn't because this wasn't enjoyable. There was a certain degree of delight about flying through the air as he currently was, but he remembered the first time he had decided to scream in joy. The wind had filled his lungs rather quickly, and breathing had become quite impossible for the terrified blonde. Needless to say, it had been an extremely distasteful experience, something which Naruto wanted to avoid experiencing again. He watched with narrowed eyes as the distant mountains came closer and closer, becoming bigger than Naruto had realized they were. And soon enough, Naruto had started his descent to the ground. The earth below came closer at an alarming rate as he readied himself for collision. Making the ram's seal, Naruto directed wind towards the ground, as if trying to push it away. This would slow his descent to a point where he wouldn't splatter upon hitting the dirt. As soon as Naruto impacted the grassy ground, he went straight into a roll to lessen the impact even more. He could have reinforced his legs with chakra and landed straight up, but bones could still break and he'd rather not risk it. When he stopped rolling, Naruto shakily rose to his feet with a grimace on his face, his hands absent-mindedly swiping dirt off his clothes. I hate using this technique. My clothes take forever to clean, Naruto thought, before looking up at the mountain. He couldn't make out the structure that he had seen from the distance, but it had been about halfway up the mountain, as he had glimpsed on his way down. That giant toad leap used a lot of my chakra, I guess there's no other way around it. With a sigh, Naruto began to climb. Sake, what'd I do for you? Sayane-chan? Saya turned her head slightly towards Fu, not completely looking at her. The book she was reading was very poignant, and she rarely got a chance to read what with all the shenanigans Naruto would pull. After all, if she weren't there to calm Naruto down, then who would? Yes? Saya asked, absent-mindedly. When Fu hesitated, Saya tore her eyes away from the book to look at her. What is it, Fu? Saya asked her, slightly concerned. Fu wasn't the most cautious of children. When she did something, she did it without regards of the consequences, like most children her age. Do you think that Naruto-Niken is alright? Fu asked, frowning slightly. Saya smiled at her concern for the whiskered blonde. Don't you worry about Naruto, Fu. I'm sure he's probably kicking major bad guy, but right now. Saya told the girl, hoping to alleviate her fears despite having some of her own. Saya knew all about the group called Akatsuki and their interest in Naruto, If, by some off chance, they found the blonde, then matters would get dangerous and very quickly so. Saya didn't know what she would do without Naruto. He so quickly became a constant in her life that she couldn't imagine it without him in it. Not that she would ever tell him. Predictably, Fu brightened up upon hearing Saya's calming words. Yeah, Fu said, imagining a possible situation for Naruto to be in, as Saya relaxed into her book once again. You'll never stop me, Uzumaki Naruto, cackled the evil masked man. Now that I have absorbed the secret statue of awesome powers, I'm invincible. Invincible. Naruto, laying broken and battered on the ground, glared defiantly at the supervillain whom he was to defeat. As long as I am alive, you'll never win, Naruto said, slowly rising from the ground. As long as everybody still believes in me, I'll never let you win. Take this, yelled the enraged bad guy, extending his arm. This is my destruction beam. A giant beam of destruction erupted from his arm and approached Naruto at a devastatingly fast rate, threatening on disintegrating his whole body. Naruto just stood there, calmly awaiting the beam as if it weren't going to kill him and doom the planet. When the beam hit the blonde, a huge explosion erupted from the ground he stood on. The evil supervillain laughed maniacally, thinking that he had killed the blonde. Muhahaha. He's dead, he's dead. The bad guy cackled happily. However, when the debris cleared, Naruto was still standing there as if nothing had happened. The man gaped at the sight, unable to believe what he had just seen. How? How can this be? Naruto just glared at him. You've done a lot of bad things, but when you tried to hurt my precious Fuchan, that was the last straw, Naruto said, picking up his fallen sword. No! Stay away! The evil man yelled, back away. Naruto glared coldly at the man before speaking. Disappear. Naruto suddenly vanished from the man's view, much to his astonishment. He looked avidly around, unable to find the blonde. Behind you. The villain spun around, just to see the blonde wasn't even facing him. Naruto was gazing off into the distance, seemingly uncaring that he had his back to the enemy. And this was his chance. But before the bad guy could attack Naruto from behind, Naruto spoke again. Don't bother. Don't you know that you've already lost? Naruto spoke, without even once turning around to look at his enemy. The masked man glared at the blonde. You erg. Unable to do anything, the bad guy fell to the ground, flopping onto his back. Whatever Naruto had done, it had been devastating. The man wondered if he was dying. And, as if Naruto could read his mind, Naruto spoke again. Relax, you're not dying. Even though I wanted to kill you, it's much cooler to leave you alive. Fu shook her head. That last line sounded odd. Relax, you're not dying. Even though I wanted to kill you, I just couldn't take your life because Fuchan wouldn't want me to. You have her to thank for your life. The villain couldn't believe it. Why, how are you so strong? Why didn't I win? He whispered. Naruto didn't respond immediately, but after a moment of silence, faced the bad guy with a bright grin on his face. Well, of course you didn't win. You were trying to bring hate and war to this land. Naruto told the man, chuckling. After all, this land is made of. Naruto flashed a V sign at the man, the typical sign for peace. Love and peace. Love and peace. Fu suddenly broke out, startling Saya with her sudden outburst. Yeah. Naruto Naiken is so cool. Saya looked at the young girl, bewildered at what could possibly have just gone through her head. She stared at the suddenly effervescent girl for a moment, before considering it herself. I wonder what he's up to, though. Is he fighting for his life? Welcome, dear sir. A brothel. Nah, he's probably molesting some unsuspecting girls, that pervert. Saya thought viciously. Ahahaha. Naruto roared in laughter, with a beautiful girl giggling at his antics in each arm. Another was behind him, massaging his shoulders and back. Her hands occasionally came a bit close to his nether regions, though she assured him that it was accidental on her part. And then what happened, Naruto-sama? One of the surrounding girls asked. At the other end of the room, the manager of the body house looked on in amazement as the group of girls daintily laughed at Naruto's tale. The blonde-haired ninja had come into the establishment not even knowing what it was, and practically all of his best girls had instantly zipped to the man without even being told to. This particular brothel didn't particularly attract a lot of attention from customers because of the remote location, so all of the girls were rather picky, not to mention underpaid. To see them swarm a man so quickly was a sight that the manager had never seen. And this particular ninja seemed rather wealthy as well, producing money seemingly out of thin air, which ended up making him seem even more charming to the women. "Here you are, Naruto-sama," one of the girls said, putting a grape in his mouth. Naruto was amused when he noticed that her fingers stayed in his mouth a little longer than necessary. Another girl approached him with sake. "How about some sake, Naruto-sama? Unfortunately, this is the last of it that we have in our stores, but it would be our pleasure to serve you," the brunette informed him, delicately holding the saucer with her fingers. Naruto grinned appreciatively, and the girl put the saucer to his mouth, carefully pouring it into his mouth so as to not spill any onto him. Naruto drank it with pleasure. He let out a content sigh after the girl had emptied the saucer of sake into his mouth. "Now that's what I call good service," Naruto exclaimed. He stuck his hand out and pulled on the air, trying to grab something that wasn't there. Except now it was. As if by magic, a bag jingling with money appeared in his hand. The girls looked on in amazement. Naruto tossed the bag over to the manager, who caught it absent-mindedly. He was still watching the scene in wonderment. "Manager, here's a bonus for all the ladies," Naruto said, causing all the girls to giggle again. "Naruto-sama, may I also get a taste of the sake?" Another girl, this time a redhead, asked him. "Of course, since you drank the last of it, it'll have to be lip." 2. Lip. Naruto laughed uproariously at her advance. "Naruto-sama, are you sure you don't want to retire to a private room?" One of the girls interrupted, and all the other nodded in appreciative agreement. Naruto grinned, but shook his head nonetheless. Now girls, I've already told you, I'm on a mission. And besides, this is pleasure enough for me," Naruto told them, accepting another grape from one of the girls. Some of the girls pouted, but they laughed at Naruto's consideration nonetheless. While Naruto did tend to frequent brothels, he very rarely ever initiated sex with any of the prostitutes that worked in them. Very few women working in brothels willing chose to be there. Most of them were forced into those situations because of debt, sometimes by even their husbands or fathers. While Naruto had grown considerably loose in terms of morality since leaving Konoha behind, he still did not condone the idea of having sex with an unwilling woman. So he would visit brothels to give these women some respite from their situation. He would instead sit there and just talk. The plus side was that some of these women ended up choosing to have sex with him on their own accord, having been provoked by Naruto's empathy and thoughtfulness. It was a win-win situation. The women that were forced into these situations got someone that somewhat cared, and a more willing woman meant less work was required on Naruto's part. He was doing the world a favor, really. These women did not seem so unwilling, but before anything else could be done to convince the whiskered blonde, the door to the brothel slid open for the second time that day, revealing a small group of men. The manager snapped out of his stupor and rushed to the door to greet the possible customers. "Welcome." All of the newcomers looked on in wonderment at the gaggle of ladies surrounding a single man. One man pushed past them and stepped into the brothel. "Yo, manager-san. I've got a deal for you." The man, supposedly the leader of the group, informed the manager of the brothel, "We've got about 500 gallons of sake sealed into several scrolls with us, but we don't have any cash to spend. How about a trade? We'll give you all of the sake for one night with the girls for me and all my men." The manager bowed deeply before replying. "I'm very sorry, sir, but we only deal in money. If you cannot pay, then I'll have to ask you to move along," the manager apologetically informed the man. Naruto perked up at the man's offer. 500 gallons? Where did you get 500 gallons of sake? He asked curiously. One of the men grinned. "We found it," he told Naruto, grinning at the blonde. "Well, rather, Kyusuke-san found it." Before Naruto could consider this, the leader of the group, Kyusuke, sighed sadly, shaking his head. While he was certain that he and his men could have easily overpowered the manager and forcibly take the women anyway, there was a single rule that guided most missing nin that had not attained the rank of S: don't attract attention. So Kyusuke just turned away from the manager, mourning the loss of both a place to stay and the touch of a woman. Naruto watched the man walking away with narrowed eyes. There was just something about this situation that didn't sit well with him. That sake, Naruto thought, 500 gallons is a lot of sake for someone to just come across. When realization struck, Naruto quickly hatched a plan of action. No matter what, he could not let that sake leave the brothel. "Oi!" Naruto called on the man, who turned around. "Wait a minute." "Yeah? What is it?" The IWA missing nin asked the Konoha missing nin. Naruto regarded him for a moment before speaking up. "That sake, you said it was 500 gallons? Naruto asked him. When Kyusuke nodded in confirmation, Naruto grinned. I'll offer you a deal. I'll pay for your stay here and you give all of that sake to me, Naruto said to the man, who looked at him startled. What, really? He asked, and all the men outside cheered and entered the premises, quickly approaching the girls, who seemed to back away from the unwanted company, frightened of the unwanted company. Naruto smirked. Just one rule. All of the men stopped their advances, as did the retreating women stop their withdrawal, looking at the smirking blonde. Naruto hugged the girls in each arm closer to his body, and they relaxed into him, basking in the unnatural warmth of his body. If a girl don't want to do nothing, then she don't have to do anything, Naruto told the men. Take it or leave it. The men looked at him outraged. What the fuck, man? We didn't come all this way just to not get laid. One of them yelled as his comrades tittered about angrily. Just what the hell is stopping us from burning this place to the ground and taking all the women anyway? At the man's comment, the previously giggling girls suddenly became nervous and scared. Hey, wait a minute. We didn't do anything to you, one of the brunettes said to the collective group. Naruto absent-mindedly noticed that it was the girl who had fed him grapes. To the disquiet of all of the whores, the arson-happy man took an angry step forward, but Naruto decided to interrupt before matters could escalate any further. Gentlemen, you are very mistaken about what it is you really need. The true delight of a woman is not the pleasure of her flesh, but the pleasure of her very presence. Naruto spoke up, once again attracting everyone's attention. He once again reached out and this time pulled out a fedora from the air and placed it on his head crookedly, letting the front cover his eyes as he looked down, cool as can be. Ka! That was the perfect line, Naruto happily thought as he discreetly observed the starstruck looks that the women were giving him. I can't wait to see Kongu's face when I tell him that I got 12 hot girls to approach me for sex. If there was one thing that Naruto had learned about women since he had left Konoha, it was that most were passionate about chivalrous and virtuous men. If a guy played his cards right, that passion could turn to him in ways no man would ever have thought possible. We accept. Kyusuke's declaration broke Naruto from his daydreams. His men, Naruto noticed, did not seem quite happy about his decision. But missing Nin named Kyusuke ignored their complaints in favor of observing Naruto with slightly narrowed eyes. That trick with the hat, Kyusuke thought to himself, this guy must be a ninja, and not just any ordinary one. His lack of worry is also troubling. If I'm right, we wouldn't survive a fight with this guy. Naruto just stared back at Kyusuke curiously, not giving any notion that he was capable of reading minds. Because he wasn't. Of course, that didn't mean that Naruto couldn't make a few estimated guesses. As soon as Kyusuke had stepped forward, Naruto had recognized him as a cut above his companions, and believed that Kyusuke would be more able to assess threats than his men. And Naruto was quite sure that Kyusuke would consider him to be a threat. And he'd be right. While Naruto was quite certain that Kyusuke and his companions would certainly be able to bring down the brothel easily, if he so wished, Naruto could bring down the entire mountain. Good choice. Now, how about those scrolls? Wahahaha. Naruto laughed along with Kyusuke, both rolling around in mirth next to each other. Man, you're pretty good at causing havoc. Tell me, did she find out that you replaced her lipstick with superglue? Kyusuke shook his head, laughing along with the blonde as they gulped down the sake together. And then when she went out to meet with the bastard again, Kyusuke spoke. Well, let's just say she was in a very sticky situation. Naruto and Kyusuke roared in laughter at the bad pun. Kyusuke wiped a tear of laughter from his eye as he watched one of the girls feed Naruto a grape. Even after they had made the deal, none of the girls had been willing to sleep with him or any of his men, much to their disgruntlement, but Naruto had persuaded some of the girls to be a bit more courteous. Even with Naruto's insistence, the brothel workers had still been stubborn about not leaving the blonde, but after Naruto promised to retire to a more private setting with all of them at night, they had suddenly become enthusiastic. Kyusuke had no idea how Naruto had done it, but the blonde had somehow switched the role of men and women in the affairs of carnal desire. It was usually a power that women held over men, but these women ached for sex with the whiskered blonde instead. Well, it was a pretty embarrassing situation for both of them, Kyusuke said, finishing both his story and his bottle of sake, but I think she got the proper punishment for cheating on me. I do feel kind of sorry for the guy though. I heard that the doctors had to rip the skin from his. Naruto and Kyusuke simultaneously winced at the unwanted image that had crossed their minds. Naruto shook his head as if trying to rattle the disturbing thoughts out of his head. He slowly looked around the room, watching as the men were futilely trying to coerce the brothel girls into intimate relations, all while drinking away Naruto's sake. If Naruto had been less inebriated and more of clearer mind, he might have noticed something was wrong with this picture, but he ignored the odd feeling of impending doom in favor of drinking the delicious sake that a black-haired girl was offering him. Ha ha ha, yeah, I stole this Sakai from a shipment for S hometown called Furu or something. Kyusuk told the blonde, barely awake. Naruto giggled. Hey, don't you mean you found it? He replied, and both he and Kyusuk erupted in laughter. The girls that were currently in charge of feeding Naruto grapes and serving him sake tittered at Naruto's lame joke. But that sh kinda odd. I'm from a town called Furu, and our sake's been stolen. Naruto frowned, stroking his chin thoughtfully as if there were something odd about it. What a coincidence. Kyusuk drunkenly laughed at the coincidence. But before Naruto could ponder this happenstance anymore, one of the girls suddenly grabbed onto his arm. He was sufficiently drunk, and would probably not offer any more resistance to their advances. Come Naruto-sama, it's rather late and we'd best be getting to bed, the girl said, speaking to the blonde in a sultry tone. All of the girls gathered once more, crowding around the blonde in anticipation of a long night. But before he was led away by the enamored women, Naruto spoke out once more. Wait, I wanted a picture. Me and all the girls. Naruto slurred, Oi, manager Saiyan. The manager came into the room, wearily looking at the blonde. Yes? Picture? The manager raised a single eyebrow. And do you have a camera? Naruto frowned at his question before patting down his clothes. Now where did I put it? Oh, right. Naruto exclaimed, snapping his finger in realization. He pulled a camera out of the air and handed it to the manager, who was no longer awed by Naruto's tricks, having seen them many times throughout the day. As the manager aimed the camera at the blonde, the girls gathered around him, eager to get in the photo. There was a girl on each side kissing his cheek, while one was standing behind him with her lips on his neck. The other girls sandwiched them in, all trying to rub against the Jinchuriki in some manner, resulting in a very tight cabal with a very blonde Naruto in the middle. Banzai! Naruto cheered with a large grin on his face, giving the camera a victory sign. Banzai! The girls merrily repeated after him, and the camera flashed, indicating that the photo had been taken. Immediately, they dragged the blonde away, intent on having their way with him in a more isolated area. Naruto, startled at the sudden reaction of the prostitutes, held his hand out to the manager. To the manager's amazement, the camera suddenly flew out of his hands and into Naruto's, disappearing when it touched the blonde. Later, Shashuk. Naruto called, before completely being forced out of the room, but Kyusuk had already passed out cold, and so was unable to respond. Far away, Uchiha Sasuke smiled, using a hand seal to dispel the technique that he had cast upon the IWA missing nin. You've done well for yourself, Naruto. Hulula. My head. If there was just one thing that Naruto hated about the Kyuubi, it was that while he could cure almost any wound or injury short of dismemberment, he couldn't cure Naruto's hangovers after a night of heavy drinking. What the hell else was the fox good for? Naruto focused the yang chakra of the Kyuubi, intent on hydrating his body to help with the hangover. The aching blonde formed water-natured chakra in his brain first, allowing it to swell back to its original size, and, he noticed with relief, the headaches slowly ebbed away. Alcohol caused major dehydration in the body, and the organs drained water from the brain in order to make up for their own loss of water, but that of course left the brain to deflate in size, which pulled on the membranes connecting it to the skull, which in turn caused the headache that most drinkers felt in the morning. Or so Saya said. Whatever it was, all Naruto knew was that replenishing his body with water helped, and that's all that he really cared about. Feeling much better than a moment ago, Naruto sat up and looked around the room. He was in an enormous bed capable of fitting at least 6 people. The room was quite bare apart from the bed and a love seat, and there was a solitary window that was obscured by a curtain. Then he turned his gaze upon the nicer aspects in the room, which were of course the dozen female bodies. The dozen naked female bodies. Dude, Naruto smirked, thinking back to the events of the previous night. I fucking rule. Then, the memories of the previous night left Naruto a nervous wreck. Shit! They drank the sake. They drank the sake. I drank the sake. Naruto now remembered the feeling that he had been getting all night long. He hadn't recognized it then, but he sure did now. It was a feeling of foreboding. Saya is going to fucking kill me. I feel the sudden urge to murder Naruto, Saya thought, as she looked out the window of her bar, wondering what kind of tomfoolery the errant blonde was up to now. Sake, please. The voice snapped her out of her thoughts, and Saya turned to its originator. A rather handsome raven-haired man, probably around Naruto's age, watched her with an amused expression on his face. Saya couldn't help but blush in embarrassment. He had caught her off guard. Yes, right away, sir. Saya quickly got the man his alcohol, feeling his eyes on her the entire way. She couldn't help but feel slightly disgusted at the thought of him ogling her, but when she turned around, she noticed that he wasn't even looking in her direction, but rather out the window like she had been earlier. "Here you are, sir," Saya said, serving the man a bottle and a saucer. "Thank you." The man accepted his sake, pouring it into the saucer and taking a sip. "My name is Sasuke," he informed the brunette bartender. Saya regarded him for a moment, as if judging his motives, before replying. "Saya." Sasuke gave her a hint of a smirk before returning his gaze to the window. "Who were you remembering?" Sasuke asked her. Saya looked at him curiously, not understanding his question. Sasuke smiled at her confusion. "When you were looking out the window," Sasuke said, clearing up her confusion. Saya regarded him carefully, being more on guard at his attempt to pry into her thoughts. "Why do you ask?" Saya asked him warily. If he were a ninja, she had best stay on guard. Little did Saya know that Sasuke was a ninja, and a very accomplished one at that, but he had no nefarious intentions against her, so there wasn't much to worry about. "It must have been someone you're in love with, judging by the look on your face," Sasuke told her, ignoring her question. Saya looked at him, surprised at his declaration. She turned away from Sasuke, meaning to end the conversation there and then with that gesture. "Me? In love with Naruto?" Saya thought to herself, disbelieving. "Ugh, I don't want to be involved with that pervert in that sort of way. But why would he think that?" The man's comment had left her even more off guard, so Saya turned around to question him only to find that he was no longer there. And Saya was left standing there, gazing at the spot where the dark-haired man had just sat for a few minutes, his observations having very deeply unsettled her. Then her mind caught up to her situation. He left without paying. The rookie known as Jinji sighed. Guard duty sucks. Being a newbie to the company, Jinji was immediately appointed to one of the more boring duties, which was of course guard duty. All the other veteran deliverers would be getting all the action, while Jinji would be forced to just sit back and watch the sake. It wasn't fair to him. He had been spoiling for some action. It wasn't like anybody was stupid enough to steal sake from one of the major hidden villages, especially one as volatile as Kumogakure. Yet here he was, guarding the sake while all the veterans got to have fun. "Oh, rookie! You can take a break," one of the so-called veterans informed him. "You rest easy now, we'll take over. This territory is a bit more dangerous, so we need more skilled eyes watching the sake." Jinji resisted the urge to grumble at the subtle dig that the man had at him. Instead, he nodded his head in affirmation and walked away to use a restroom before setting out with the group again. On his way, he noticed a blond man with strange whisker markings on his cheeks walk past him towards the caravan with the sake. "How do you do?" the man asked him politely. Jinji, surprised at being addressed by the total stranger, stammered back a greeting. "Hello?" Cursing himself for stuttering, Jinji took a deep breath and spoke again. "I'm fine, and yourself?" "Basking in the warmth of the sun. She radiates such a glow on a day like this," the man said to Jinji, "that I feel almost unworthy to stand underneath her tender rays." Jinji blinked at the man's strange response, and blinked once more when the man removed a hat from his pack and gave it to him. "Best to cover yourself, because when in the presence of such beauty as the sun, its heat may be unforgiving. Better to be safe than scorched, as they always say, correct?" Jinji could only nod, unsure of what to say to this strange man. After all, the man continued, looking at the sky, all it takes is a flash, and you'll find yourself missing whatever is precious to you, be it your love or your charge. But I digress, it's time for me to depart. Good day to you. And with that, the man bounded away, leaving behind a dumbstruck Jinji. What the hell was that? Shaking his head in disbelief, Jinji kept on walking towards the restrooms. But before he could relieve his bladder, he heard yells from the caravan. Jinji immediately turned and ran, wondering what had happened. Were they attacked? But when he got there, he could only see his teammates staring at their cart in disbelief. At least a quarter of the sake was missing. What happened? Jinji asked, running to the group. The men looked at him shakily. I don't know how it happened, the man said, wringing his hands in worry. I was looking at it the whole time. It just disappeared in a flash. The man's words struck Jinji harder than any blow ever had. All it takes is a flash, and you'll find yourself missing whatever is precious to you, Jinji thought, remembering the words of the whiskered blonde. No way. How much of it is missing? Jinji demanded, and the men were too shaken to rebuke the rookie's stipulation. It must be around 500 gallons, oh Kami-sama. 500 gallons. Already far away, Uzumaki Naruto grinned. That was too easy. Still at the brothel, Naruto grinned at the memory of the Kage Bunshin that had returned to him. Operation Success. You will come back, won't you, Naruto-sama? One of the girls asked him, teary-eyed. Kyusuke and his group had already departed, and soon it would be Naruto's turn to go. While he wouldn't mind staying, Saya's anger would be fearsome if he didn't return on time. I'll try, girls, I'll definitely try. Naruto told them, if I'm ever in the area, I'll be sure to drop by. Are you sure we can't come with you? Another girl asked him, gaining murmurs of agreement from her fellow prostitutes. They had requested this earlier as well, almost giving the manager a heart attack, but Naruto had gently shot down the idea. Not this time, girls. I'm going to have to travel really fast, and as much as I'd love a slower and more pleasurable trip, I can't afford to be late. Maybe next time? Naruto told them, trying to calm them down. If there was one thing that didn't mix, it was Naruto and over-sentimental girls. Outside of sex, that is. Well, I'd better set out. See ya. Naruto took a leap off the mountain, much to the shock of the girls, but he gently sailed the grassy ground below, relieving them of their worry. Looking up at the mountain, Naruto noticed that neither the girls nor the brothel were visible, so he ran away towards Furu. Once he reached a forest, the blonde Jinchuriki immediately leaped to the trees, jumping from branch to branch in order to travel faster. As he sailed through the forest, the blonde did not notice a pair of rather feminine eyes that regarded him with shock and recognition. That was Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto? Naruto turned to look at his female bedmate, eyebrow raised in question. Yeah? Have you ever been in love before? She asked him, curiously gazing into his cerulean eyes. Well, there was one time where I thought I was in love, he replied, looking back at the ceiling. I was still a kid back then, and well, I didn't really know what love was. She grinned at him. Oh really? And who was this girl? She asked, her tone rather mischievous. She fingered his bare chest, gently stroking it. You've met her. Naruto told his companion, she was my teammate. Oh! She exclaimed, a looking of dawning comprehension on her face, the pink-haired girl. What was her name again? Harino Sakura. Naruto informed her. The woman snapped her fingers in remembrance. That's it. Sakura-chan, she said, her memory of the girl returning. So what happened? It didn't work out between you two? It didn't even happen between us. Naruto corrected her, she was so caught up with our other teammate. Back then, she wouldn't even give me the time of day. Actually, she was pretty ruthless with me. She chuckled at his explanation. It's no laughing matter. The blonde complained, her punches really hurt. This only caused the dark-haired beauty next to him to laugh harder. Her laughter was so melodious, so captivating, that Naruto couldn't help but chuckle alongside her. Well, he said, I guess it was kinda funny. I used to think that the more she hit me, the more likely it was that she loved me. But well, that wasn't the case. She only had eyes for Sasuke. Most people did. The woman gave the blonde a sympathetic look, and she stroked his cheek softly. Oh Naruto, you don't have to worry about her anymore. If she couldn't see what she had right in front of her, then she doesn't deserve you. She assured him, besides, I should be glad that she didn't take notice of you, else we might not have had what we have now. Naruto smiled at her. Yeah. I definitely don't regret it. Naruto told her, staring her right back in the eyes. Naruto felt her arms reach around him, gathering him closer to her naked body. Her ruby lips approached his at an almost excruciatingly slow pace. He could feel her breath on his face. I love you, Naruto, she whispered, her words tugging at his heart. I love you too, he replied, he meant it. They embraced. I love you too, the blonde replied. Saya-chan? Hello, is anybody in there? What? Saya snapped out of her daze, looking to the owner of the voice, who regarded her amusedly. Having a nice daydream? The beautiful Saisumi Azusa regarded the brunette bartender with a smirk playing on her full, ruby lips. Despite being quite mature, Azusa had an allure that could attract the attention of every man in the vicinity, and it did. Rather than the downright and typically sexy look that most younger women went for, Azusa instead retained a sense of dignity and sensuality that not just any woman could achieve. She carried herself with an air of nobility, dressed modestly yet still looking like royalty. One look at her, and one's senses just screamed experienced. One touch from her could drive a man crazy with pleasure. Along with the fact that she was a doctor, Azusa was a woman that could have come straight out of a man's dreams. Saya flushed with embarrassment at being caught off guard. What is it with me these days? Saya thought, I'm always caught off guard. Ahaha, sorry. I sort of lost myself there. Saya apologized to the woman. Azusa waved it off. No worries, Saya-chan. Thought, if I may ask, what was it you were dreaming of? Azusa asked. Saya flushed a bit deeper, but thankfully, Fu came to her rescue. I thought you said Naruto Niken would be here, she said, pulling on Azusa's hand. Fu pouted when her mom motioned for her to sit. Now, Fu-chan. I'm sure that Naruto-kun will be here soon. After all, his mission should have ended not too long ago. Azusa assured her daughter. Now, how about some lunch? She had said the magic words. Why? Let's eat! Fu exclaimed. Saya immediately started making a sizable portion of food for the mother and daughter, knowing of Fu's eating habits. The little girl could put away more food than grown men several times her size. It was quite a remarkable sight to see her eat, and a little bit frightening as well. As Saya prepared their lunch, chatting amiably with Azusa all the while, either of them noticed a certain blonde-haired shinobi enter the bar. The other customers, however, did. As Naruto walked past a group of men playing a game of cards, one of them called him. Naruto. Naruto turned to the man who had called him. Naruto didn't recognize him, but it was quite obvious that the man was a minor. Yo. What's up? Naruto replied easily, not perturbed that the man knew him. Most of the older people in the town knew who he was. You down for a game of old maid? He asked the blonde, riffling the deck of cards in his hand. Naruto shook his head. Nah, I prefer younger women. I don't have time to play your deviant sexual games, Naruto said offhandedly, at which one of the younger men at the table grumbled. Why the hell did you even invite this bastard anyway? He grumbled, and Naruto recognized him with a start. Well, if it isn't Keitaro, Naruto said jovially, though there was a certain mischievous edge to his tone. Keitaro scowled at being singled out. What the hell do you want, you fucker? Keitaro said in a low voice, glaring at the blonde. Naruto smirked at him, holding up his hands in defeat. Nothing. What's wrong, old pal? Naruto asked. He noted out of the corner of his eye that Saya, Azusa, and Fu still hadn't noticed him. I'm not your pal. Keitaro bit out, get lost, you bastard. My, what ferociousness. I'm going, don't worry. But I did mean to tell you, Naruto spoke, the mischievousness in his voice almost palpable. Your mom says hi. At the mention of his mother, Kitaro's glare turned murderous, as if daring Naruto to say something else. Naruto wasn't intimidated in the least. Oh, and she also says, oh god, yes. Naruto told him, smirking. Keitaro abruptly shot up from his seat, spitting at the blonde in anger. What the fuck did you say, you bastard? He yelled, attracting the attention of everyone in the bar. It also alerted Saya and Azusa to Naruto's presence, Fu was too caught up with her lunch. However, before things could escalate anymore, one of the men at the table tugged on Kitaro's shirt. Come on, Kitaro-kun. Calm down, you know Naruto's like that, he said soothingly, trying to calm down the enraged boy. Reluctantly, Keitaro sank back into his seat, glaring at Naruto all the way. Smirking at the boy one last time, Naruto made his way to where Saya was standing, giving Naruto a disapproving look. Yo! How you doing? Naruto exclaimed cheerfully, as if nothing had just happened. Saya scowled at him. Welcome back, Naruto-kun. Azusa replied, her tone rather sultry. Naruto grinned at her. Naruto, why do you always have to mess with Keitaro like that? She asked, ignoring his greeting. You know he's sensitive about his mother. Kid deserves it, fucking with me like that, Naruto replied, grimacing at the memory. When Saya had first introduced Naruto to Keitaro, he had felt sympathetic with the boy. Keitaro had lost his father at an early age to a mining accident, and had been forced to work in order to provide for himself and his mother. Without his father there, Keitaro was fiercely protective of his rather beautiful mother. Naruto had at first thought that Keitaro might be a kindred spirit, but Keitaro had taken Naruto's sympathies and publicly humiliated the blonde in return, saying things that struck a chord that Naruto would rather stay buried. Unable to beat up the arrogant boy since he was still a civilian, Naruto had decided to respond in true Naruto fashion. he slept with Kitaro's mother. It was an added bonus that she was apparently a screamer in bed because the day after, practically the entire town knew about it. Naruto had gotten his revenge, and Keitaro had hated the blonde ever since. Naruto grinned at the memories. Good times, good times. Aren't you ever going to let it drop, Naruto? Saya asked him, almost pleadingly. Naruto shook his head. What he did was unforgivable, he replied before reaching out. Producing a scroll out of thin air, Naruto tossed it to Saya, who caught it unexpectedly. There's your sake. Saya just glowered at him, which only caused Naruto to grin even more. He absolutely loved pissing that girl off. She was cute when she was angry. His mood now even more cheerful, Naruto turned lovingly to Azusa. Azusa-kan! He cried out, jumping onto her lap. I missed you so much. Naruto clung to her on her lap, his body pressing up against hers. He felt her two trademark features pressing up against his chest. Mission accomplished, he thought, delighted at the feel of her sizable breasts against his chest. He was about the only person in town, other than her husband, that could get away with such behavior. Naruto-kun, I am glad to see you as well, Azusa replied, unflustered at the blonde's forwardness. She was quite used to it, in fact. Azusa-chan, let's skip this joint and reunite in true fashion. How about in my bed? Naruto remarked innocently. Azusa let out a dainty laugh, her hand covering her mouth. My. I would be delighted to, Naruto-kun, but alas, I am married, so it is for naught. Azusa replied, her tone sounding apologetic. Naruto playfully pouted, getting off of Azusa's lap. He was a grown man after all, and though she didn't show it, his weight was probably straining her. Ah, too bad, he replied, taking a seat on the stool next to the mature woman. Saya shot Naruto a dirty glance at his shameless flirting with the married woman. Fu remained oblivious, her entire focus on the food she was eating. So how is life? He asked her, everything going okay at the hospital? It has been getting quite busy these days, Azusa told him, sighing wearily. We've been experiencing a sudden boom in patients. Want me to help out? Naruto asked. Naruto had volunteered at the local hospital several times before, especially during times like these where there was an influx of patients. Most people that didn't know him too well thought that he was being humanitarian when really, he was just hoping to play doctor with a hot patient. Or a hot nurse. Or a hot doctor. It didn't really matter which, as long as the woman was hot. No, I wouldn't want to trouble you like that, especially since you've just returned from your mission. Azusa hurriedly told him. Moreover, the last time you rendered us your help, there was quite a bit of trouble. Do you not remember what happened last time? Naruto gave her a confused look, as if he had no clue what happened last time. Naruto walked into the room where a lone female sat, clipboard in hand and white coat over his regular clothes, completing the doctor look. The woman looked at him, confused as to why he was there. Hello, I'm filling in for Saisumi-san today, she's otherwise occupied. The name's Naruto, the blonde informed the nervous woman. Now, he said, looking at the notes attached to the clipboard, you were waiting for your test results, correct? The woman nodded her assent. Naruto peered at the notes, before looking up at the woman. Well, I've got some bad news and good news for you, he said. The bad news is that you tested positive for cancer. You'll be dead in about 2 months. Tears sprang to her eyes, as she cried silently at her fate. What's the good news? She asked, both hopeful and fearful. You're pregnant, Naruto exclaimed joyfully, arms outstretched. The woman openly started sobbing, sinking to the floor in despair. Wait. Shit. Naruto looked back at the clipboard, as the woman lay on the floor, curled into the fetal position, sobbing miserably. Or the time before that, Azusa continued. So doc, do you have anything for my headaches? The man asked. Naruto, reading a comic hidden inside the doctor's notes, absent-mindedly pointed to a cup. The man took the cup and downed the liquid in one go, grimacing at the taste. Ugh! What was that? He asked, coughing at the horrible taste. Naruto reluctantly tore his eyes away from his comic to look at the cup in the patient's hands. Huh! Oh, that was your urine sample, Naruto said. Or the time before that, Azusa repeated. Naruto walked into the room where the patient was nervously waiting for him, once again holding a clipboard. As soon as the blonde entered the room, the man jumped up, anxious to know his future, or lack thereof. So how is it, doc? Do I have cancer? The brown-haired man asked him, his face twisted in fear and apprehension. Naruto, who had looked quite disgruntled as he walked into the room, immediately brightened. Well, hold your hand in front of your face, and if it's bigger than your face, then you have cancer, Naruto informed him. The man looked at the whiskered blonde skeptically. I thought that was just a myth, the man said, but did as instructed only for Naruto to shove his hand into his face. The blonde erupted in laughter. Wahahaha. I can't believe you fell for that, Naruto roared in laughter, slapping his knees in hysterics. The patient just stared at the blonde in disbelief, even as Naruto's laughter slowly died away. The two were left regarding each other in an awkward silence. Naruto glanced at the clipboard in his hand before looking back at the man, breaking the silence. You have 30 days to live. As well as the time before that, Azusa repeated once more. Ack. Doc, I've got something in my eyes. It won't come out, the man cried out painfully, holding his hand to his face. Quick! Naruto exclaimed hastily, stop, drop, and roll. The man dropped to the floor, rolling around in pain. It isn't helping, he shouted, still rolling around in vain. Naruto gave him a confused look. You didn't ask for help, he replied. And the time before th. Alright. Naruto cut in, ending Azusa's tales of his ineptitude and tomfoolery as a substitute doctor. Yeesh, I was only trying to be funny. I think the world could do without your kind of help, Naruto, Saya said, glaring at the blonde. Naruto noticed that she seemed to be in a foul mood, well, a fouler mood than usual. Yes, the hospital has received a few lawsuits since you've volunteered there, Azusa said, still smiling as if all was right in the world. Naruto rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. Well, look at the bright side, at least those cancer patients won't be much trouble, he said, laughing shamefacedly. Ahaha. Naruto Niken! Fu screamed, slamming into him for a hug. And judging by the darkening look on Saya's face, it was right on time. The girl had a knack for being right on time. It'll be a useful ability when she's older, Naruto mused jokingly. Hey Squirt! How you been? Naruto asked, picking her up and settling her in his lap. Bored, she exclaimed, I was waiting for you to come back the whole time. Naruto laughed, and began tickling the girl's sides, inciting her to laugh uncontrollably. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw Saya watching them with a small smile on her face. Fu, you miraculous child, Naruto thought fondly, you've saved my life yet again. Well, now that I'm back, what are you gonna do? He asked her, his tickle attack unrelenting. Fu laughed herself to tears, crying out for the blonde to stop. Deciding to give the girl mercy, Naruto stopped. Immediately, the brunette scrabbled up and put arms around his neck, hugging him again. So what did you get me? She asked him, with all the innocence of a child. Naruto stroked his chin, pretending to think about it. He started, oh, that's right. Naruto snapped his fingers, and he was suddenly holding a questionable item in his hand. Azusa immediately interrupted their conversation. Naruto-kun? You wouldn't happen to be giving my daughter used women's panties, would you? She asked him smilingly, her tone as pleasant as it always was, her head slightly tilted to the side to complete the look. Naruto saw death in that smile. Without a thought, Naruto banished the item away again. Oops, he remarked innocently, wrong item, hee. My bad. Naruto reached out again, and this time, pulled out a safer article of clothing, a children's ninja costume, complete with mask and headband. Here you go, Squirt, he said, giving the young brunette her gift. She snatched it from his hands and hopped away immediately. Yay, thank you, Naruto Niken, she yelled, running away to most likely dress up in her ninja costume and show off to the other children. You should not spoil her so, Naruto-kun, Azusa remarked, apparently unworried that her daughter was leaving her sight. Naruto shrugged. If I didn't spoil her, then who would? He easily replied. The correct answer was, the rest of the town. However, before their conversation could be continued any further, they heard the noises of a collision near the entrance of the bar. Looking over, they saw Fu on the floor and a rather tall blonde woman looking down curiously at the little girl who had crashed into her. Ah, sorry. Here, the woman said, offering the fallen Fu a hand up. Naruto did not immediately recognize the woman, though he did get an inkling that he knew who she was. A feeling of dread made its way into Naruto's stomach. Fu accepted the woman's hand up. Thank you, she said, formally bowing, before running around the woman and out the bar. The woman watched her leave with an amused expression on her face before making her way to where Naruto was sitting. As she approached, Naruto realized with a start exactly who this woman was. Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Naruto thought frantically. The woman walked to the front, coming closer and closer to Naruto, who had frozen in shock. However, rather than stopping in front of him, the blonde walked right past the demon container and sat down on a stool right next to him. Naruto forced himself to calm down and swiveled back to face the front. Water, please. The woman asked Saya, who had been observing the scene silently behind the counter. Saya quickly fetched the woman a clean glass of water, setting it in front of her. Water is free. Saya informed the woman, inconspicuously inspecting her. The blonde was obviously a kunoichi if her forehead protector was any indication, not to mention the various weapons that the woman seemed to carry with her. Saya could also see that Naruto was quite nervous at her presence, meaning that the two knew each other. And as Naruto was a missing nin, and this woman was obviously not, it did not bode well for the blonde. Thank you? The blonde kunoichi replied softly, and she drank from the glass quietly. Silence descended upon the four. Azusa quietly returned to eating her meal. Naruto suddenly broke it. Well, it's been good, Saya, see you later, bye. Naruto spoke in one breath before abruptly standing to escape. The blonde kunoichi's hand suddenly snapped out and grabbed the back of Naruto's shirt as if grabbing a kitten by the scruff of its collar. Naruto whined, almost piteously, but dejectedly sank back into his seat, sufficiently cowed by the woman. It's been a long time, Uzumaki Naruto, the blonde woman said, addressing him for the first time. Naruto chuckled nervously, waving apprehensively at the woman. Hey, Temari-san. He greeted the girl, how you doing? I'm fine, though quite a bit surprised. Temari told the blonde, never once looking at him. Her hand rested on the back of his collar, cutting off any chances of escape. Seeing the calmness that the Suna kunoichi was producing, Naruto decided to play it cool. Far be it from him to look so uncool in front of a woman, especially one as hot as Temari. Jiraiya would never forgive him. Oh yeah? And how so? Naruto replied smoothly, once he had sufficiently calmed down. Temari's eyes finally shifted towards Naruto's at his sudden aloofness. Well, considering that you are a missing nin of Konoha, I did not think that I'd find you peacefully living your life in a town. Temari replied, her tone as cool as it had been. Who would have thought that you had been hiding out in Spring Country all this time? The town of Furu was primarily a mining town located in Spring Country, which was formerly known as Snow Country. Built near the mountains, Furu was a place where many vagrants came, not to cause trouble, but rather to get away from the perilous life outside of towns. Most of these vagabonds were employed as miners, digging up jewels and coal from the nearby mountain. In other words, it was a little-known town, one that most people had never heard of, and that was one of the things that made it the perfect hideout for Naruto. Yeah, who would have thought, huh? Naruto reiterated, but then, you did find me. I did, Temari said simply. Saya silently watched their exchange, while Azusa made it a point to eat her meal slowly, listening in on their conversation. Well, what do we do now? Naruto asked, for the first time sounding solemn. Being caught by someone who knew him, someone who had ties with Konoha, was something he had avoided to this day. Being found by Temari would mean that Konoha would be alerted to his whereabouts, and Naruto was not yet ready to return to his hometown. Well, Temari replied, if you were just anyone, I would have immediately informed the Godame Hokage of your whereabouts, something I'm sure that she and many other Konoha shinobi would want to know. Naruto smirked. But I'm not just anyone, am I? Naruto repeated. Temari smirked back. That you aren't. Temari spoke softly, you did save Gaara from certain death, so I've decided to give you the benefit of the doubt. Explain to me why you abandoned the hidden leaf, and I just might decide to have you safely put under the protection of Suna so that the leaf doesn't eviscerate you the moment they find you. For the first time in their seemingly pleasant conversation, Temari's voice took a slightly harsher tone, showing Naruto exactly what she thought of him. He was sure it wasn't a nice thought. Naruto couldn't help but grimace. However, he could see no way out of this without killing the blonde kunoichi, and that was something he would never do, so he just sighed in resignation. It's a complicated story, Naruto told her, momentarily glancing at Saya and slightly frowning at the worried look on her face. It might take a while to explain. I have lots of time, Temari told him. There was no way that he would be able to get out of this. Naruto simply sighed again before telling his tale, much to the quiet worries of Saya and Azusa. Saya, some alcohol please, Naruto said, speaking in soft tones, giving Temari a sidelong glance. For both of us. It'll be easier for me to speak. And it's on me. Temari made no complaints, something that Naruto was glad for. It meant that she would be more tolerating of his tale. He gladly accepted the sake from Saya, giving her a grateful look. Well, to start off, I believe I left Konoha not long after the mission where we retrieved Gaara after the Akatsuki abducted him and Chiyobazen gave her life to revive him. Naruto started. Originally, I had no plans to leave Konoha. Temari looked at him skeptically. Right. And then you just up and left, she said scathingly. Rather than replying to her derisive words, Naruto opted to instead take a swig of the booze that Saya had set in front of him. Naruto absent-mindedly noticed that it was the sake that he had just retrieved on his mission. Saya must have unsealed it when he wasn't looking. He didn't fail to notice that Temari didn't even reach for hers. There was a short silence before Naruto spoke again. There is a large difference between the climates in Konoha and Suna. Naruto spoke cryptically, staring at the glass on the counter in front of him, watching the bubbles rising to the top. Temari raised an eyebrow, unsure of what Naruto was talking about, while Saya remained just as in the dark as she was. It was here when Azusa finally spoke up again. Indeed, she said, attracting everyone's attention, Suna has much warmer temperatures than Konoha, does it not? Though, I doubt that is the point you are trying to make. Naruto smiled at her comment. Azusa was as decisive as ever, and she made no pretense of pretending to not listen to their conversation. It was obvious to Naruto and Temari that she and Saya were listening closely, and both blondes knew that the two eavesdroppers knew they were eavesdropping. However, instead of acknowledging Azusa's comment, Naruto continued to speak to Temari. No matter how bad my life has been, I don't envy Gaara. I doubt I'd be alive today if there had been assassination attempts on my life when I was a kid. Even when I gained friends and support, Gaara remained alone. In some ways, his previous disrespect for life was justified. Naruto explained, it's amazing that he's turned out the way he has. For him to take the high road like that protecting the very people that wanted his death, it shows how respectable a person he is. Temari's eyes softened at Naruto's words. She vividly remembered Gaara's sad childhood, and more often than not felt guilty that she played a part in contributing to her little brother's sadness, no matter how minuscule it. But, in some ways, Gaara had it easier than I did. Naruto continued. It was then that Temari remembered exactly what Naruto had in common with Gaara. She hadn't really comprehended it before due to Naruto's sunny disposition towards life, but the whiskered blonde also held a demon within him. Naruto's life could not have been as cheerful as he made it out to be. Gaara, he knew where he stood with his village. He knew exactly what they thought of him, why they hated him, not exactly the most pleasant thought, but sometimes, knowing is better than not knowing. Naruto said, Suna was at the very least direct about what they thought of him. They openly feared him. They were open with their secrets. Konoha was a lot more subtle. I never encountered straightforward opposition like Gaara did, but I still knew that I was resented. It wasn't visibly noticeable because nobody went around attacking me in public, but everyone knew and I knew that resentment existed. It was always there, underneath the underneath. Naruto said, quoting his one sensei, it's as if they were encouraging me to do my best to gain their acknowledgement, only not saying that no matter how hard I tried, they would still resent me. It's disheartening to say the least, knowing that no matter what you do, no matter how you try to prove yourself, you'll never be acknowledged. Naruto chuckled, noticing Temari's softening eyes. Of course, I was a brainless moron back then, always thinking that if I tried hard enough, they would accept me. Naruto said, even after I returned from my trip with Jiraiya, I was always optimistic. That changed after Gaara was captured. Naruto took another swig of his alcohol and happily noticed that this time, Temari did so as well. When I saw the reception that Gaara received when we brought him back, I felt even more enthusiastic that one day, Konoha might look at me like that. But when we went back, Naruto trailed off. He immediately downed his glass for extra effect. Of course, most of what he had just said was complete and utter bullshit. The people of Konoha were nowhere near as malicious as he was portraying them to be. Nobody really went out of their way to make his life miserable like he was making it out to be, but he was, for the most part, dismissed for the majority of his life, which was a pretty shitty deal regardless. Sometimes, the best lie was an embellished truth. What happened? Temari asked softly, downing her own bottle as well. Naruto motioned for Saya to refill it. So far, his plan was running along smoothly. Naruto would tell her his story, get her drunk enough to feel bad for him, and would convince her to keep things quiet. And for once, he was not going to try and bed the girl. There was a slight chance that she might get attached because she knew him, and that would prove dangerous because she would have to return to Suna. If she ever decided to meet up with him again, she could easily be followed and Naruto could not risk that. Actually, that wasn't it at all. Naruto was just fucking scared of what Gaara would do if he found out that Naruto had sex with his sister. He was also quite sure that the girl was dating Nara Shikamaru, but that was of little consequence. The Nara boy may have been extremely intelligent, but he was no match for Naruto in combat, of that the blonde was absolutely sure. Naruto? Temari's hesitant voice broke him from his thoughts. He looked at her, startled for a moment, before shaking his head clear of his thoughts. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, so we got back to Konoha all ready to go find my teammate, Uchiha Sasuke, using the information that we received from Akasuna no Sasori. Naruto began again, but I ended up overhearing something. Temari watched Naruto's face for reactions as he trailed off, feeling sorry for the blonde. Naruto took the opportunity to put his acting skills to good use. Naruto sighed deeply and pinched the bridge of his nose tiredly. Well, a few of the village elders were talking about me, so I couldn't help but eavesdrop. Naruto started. I'm not sure how it all started, but they were planning on persuading Tsunade to send me on a retrieval mission for them. But when instead of getting an item, I'd instead be ambushed by members of Akatsuki. Temari's jaw snapped open slightly, and she stared at him with an unbelieving gaze and a small amount of pity. Naruto withheld his smirk. Pity was good. He could get away with pity. Suffice to say, Naruto's tale was quite unbelievable, and no decent ninja was gullible enough to believe the pile that Naruto was shoveling, and Temari was more than a decent kunoichi. However, Naruto also happened to know that Temari was a lightweight when it came to drinking, not unlike Rock Lee. After he had returned from his 3-year-long training trip with Jiraiya, Sakura had secretly confided in him about a time when the usual gang, which included Teams Guy, Asuma, Kurenai, her, and Temari, had gone out for a night on the town. After hitting various spots around Konoha, they had eventually ended up in a bar as night outs usually did, and their conversation topics had eventually turned to Sabaku no Gara. Temari was inevitably pestered with questions about her red-headed brother, and the conversation had driven the blonde to drink. And it was only after a few glasses of alcohol that Temari had been drunk enough to embarrass herself and pass out. Thankfully, she didn't remember the night, though she had from then on refused to drink or talk about Gara again. Sakura also told him that this was what sparked her discovery of Naruto's status of demon container. Naruto had been banking on the fact that because Gara and he were so alike, Temari would feel sad and guilty enough to drink. Judging by the fact that it only took her about 3 glasses to pass out, Naruto had decided that just 1 glass would be sufficient for her to lose enough of a grip on reality to miss certain daiji aspects of his story. Because really, who would seriously be stupid enough to brag about a plan where practically anyone could overhear it? So you left Konoha just because of that? Why not tell the Hokage about their plan? Temari asked him. Naruto noticed that she didn't really look at all tipsy, but he still saw a very slight flush on her cheeks, and seeing as he wasn't hitting on her, it definitely wasn't a blush, so he must have been doing something right. Either that or he was just too damned irresistible to women. The rational side to his brain argued that it was the former, but he quickly shut it up. Well, what could I have done to fix it? Naruto replied, tracing the ring of the glass. If I stopped these guys, then somebody else would just end up taking their place. It would mean a lot of trouble for Tsunade. Besides, Naruto paused for effect. I think their reasoning for selling me out was pretty sound. Both Azusa and Saya gave Naruto sharp looks, but Naruto ignored them in favor of watching Temari, who regarded him with a shocked expression on her face. Why do you say that? She asked him, seeming genuinely surprised. Naruto shook his head slowly. They just wanted to keep Konoha safe. They thought that if I stayed in Konoha, Akatsuki would eventually come looking for me. It's happened before, and the same happened to Gara as well. How could I blame them for wanting the best for their village? Naruto replied, his tone of voice melancholy. Temari's look of pity became even more piteous. Still, they shouldn't have tried to sell out their own ninja, their own comrade, for that. Temari replied, her voice taking a passionate tone. Good, Naruto thought, hiding his smirk, she's getting into it. You have a point, but the alternative means that Konoha would be in danger because of my presence. It would have continued to be in danger as long as I continued to be a Konoha shinobi. Naruto explained, looking at Temari with the sincerest eyes he could muster. Even if I left on another training trip, Akatsuki might have targeted Konoha in hopes that I would go running back to save them. Even though they were after Gara, they still attacked Tsunade to hurt him in other ways. I couldn't let them do that to Konoha. Temari regarded him silently, and Azusa and Saya remained mute as well. There was only a dim murmur of the bar's other patrons in the background. So you, Temari spoke, hesitant and unwilling to articulate the sad thought that came to her mind. Naruto nodded, looking back at his glass with a solemn look on his face. As long as Akatsuki thinks that I'm no longer loyal to Konoha, then they'll have no reason to try and hold them as leverage over me. So I had to be a missing mean to protect Konoha, Even if it means that the very people I'm trying to protect might kill me for abandoning the village. Naruto explained to her, though it was a stretch to say that they were after his head. Tsunade, even though she hadn't known why he left, had sent no hunter Nin after him. It doesn't matter anyway, because it's sort of my destiny, Naruto said, putting the final figurative nail in the figurative coffin. People like me and Gaara we're Jinchuriki human sacrifices. When Temari took a large swig from her glass, Naruto felt a deep sense of relief settle upon his shoulders, and he couldn't help but smile. His location would be kept safe for a little while longer. It almost felt as good as sex. Almost, but not quite. I think you've had enough to drink, Temari-san? Saya spoke up, taking away the glass of alcohol in Temari's hands. Temari didn't complain, but instead put her face on the counter, quite drunk but surprisingly still coherent, though Saya had a little something to do with that. The alcohol that she had given to the sandy blonde was quite watered down, despite what Naruto thought. It wasn't as if Saya was trying to get the whiskered blonde captured by Konoha. She knew that if the blonde didn't want to be taken in, he wouldn't be. Naruto was quite strong, but she didn't want Naruto to kick the girl out in the condition that she was in. Saya had a habit of making sure that the people that left her bar unable to stand on their feet without assistance made it home safe and sound. It was this very habit that made her so likable to everyone in Furu. Temari lived too far for Saya to make sure that she made it home safely, so she had to resort to other measures. And maybe this will teach Naruto to show some responsibility, Saya thought, ignoring the small kernel of guilt of doing this behind Naruto's back. At the very least, she'll be able to reject any advances he makes. She had never held much stock in irony. Saya watched the two blonde shinobi converse with one another about days long past, talking about moments in their lives when she was a nonentity to them. And she couldn't help but feel slightly left out and jealous. Ever since Naruto had come into her life, it had turned from regular, everyday life to something new and exciting, and judging by their conversation, Naruto had that effect on everybody. Though Saya wouldn't ever voice this to him, she loved her life with Naruto in it. The blonde, while irritating most of the time, also brought a lot of color to her otherwise monotonous life, as well as the lives of many other inhabitants in the town of Furu. Since he had arrived, Furu had turned from a dreary town of vagrant miners into an effervescent town of festive citizens. To see the blonde being pulled away from his new life, pulled away into his old life, Saya wasn't sure how she really felt about it, but she knew that it wasn't anything good. And as Saya watched the chatting blondes with a heavy heart, she didn't notice another person watch her with calculating eyes. Keitaro. Keitaro made his way over to the pretty brunette, swaying slightly from the alcohol he had consumed. Furu was quite lenient on its alcohol consumption laws, especially towards its working miners. As Keitaro approached the female bartender, he noticed that her gaze was instead on Naruto. Always on Naruto. He hated it that her gaze was always on Naruto and that her best smiles were for Naruto, that she was only really happy when Naruto were around. She was like a lovesick puppy that didn't even know of her affections. Or of the affections of others. Keitaro had known Saya for quite a long time, since they were both kids. They had both been born in Furu, though Saya was about a year older than he was. Keitaro's family had been in Furu since the inception of the town many years back, but Saya's parents had been one of the many vagrants that settled in the mining town. Saya's father had been a genin-level ninja from within Snow Country, and her mother had been his runaway bride. When they had come to Furu, her father had opened up his bar and inn, and his wife, whom had become pregnant quite soon after they had arrived, just remained as a housewife and sometimes waitress and hostess. When Saya was about 7 years old, she saw both of her parents hunted down and killed by Snow Ninja for abandoning the ruthless dictator that had taken over the country. The only reason that she survived was because Saisumi Azusa had been present at the time and had maintained that Saya was her daughter and not theirs. Since then, Saya had stayed with the Saisumi family until she felt she was old enough to move out and start up her parents' bar again. The Saisumi family had put her through school, and that was where Keitaro had really gotten to know her, though Saya had never really shown much interest in Keitaro as he did in her. They had only remained distant acquaintances, much to his disappointment. Keitaro still remembered the magical night when Snow Country had become Spring Country, and news of the defeat of the dictator and the proper installment of the now-deceased Princess Koyuki had reached the town. Saya had positively glowed with happiness that night, and from then on, Team 7 of Konoha had become legendary in Snow, though their names had not been announced for sake of safety and privacy. Ever since then, Keitaro had dreamed that he might one day meet one of those legendary heroes. Maybe he could introduce one of them to Saya, just to see her smile. Keitaro might have hated the fact that her true smiles weren't for him, but the fact that it was that blonde idiot that she loved, the rational part of his brain knew that he stood no chance against the ninja, so he just resorted to what he could do to the blonde, jeering and heckling. "Saya-chan?" Keitaro called, jerking Saya back to reality. Saya tore her eyes away from Naruto and his companion, startled. "Oh oh." Saya immediately smiled her usual smile that she gave to all customers. Keitaro was annoyed that she didn't reserve a special smile for him, but he didn't show it. "Hello? How are you doing, Kitaro-san?" Saya asked him, focusing her attention onto him, an act that really pleased him. "You don't need another picture, do you? You look like you've had enough." "No, I was just here to say that I'm about to head home, Saya-chan," Keitaro told her, purposefully staring into her eyes. Saya averted her gaze from his, unwilling to meet his intense gaze. "Please don't be so informal, Kitaro-san," Saya quietly requested. Her rebuff quelled Kitaro's stare, annoying him along the way. Keitaro flinched slightly. "Sorry," he replied, and an awkward silence settled upon the two brunettes. Keitaro and Saya avoided each other's gazes for a moment, and just when Keitaro was about to say goodbye, Naruto interrupted them. "Oi, Sayaka-an! Hit me with another glass," Naruto called. Saya blazingly snapped back at him, slightly surprising Keitaro, who had known Saya to be a very well-mannered person. "Get it yourself, you lazy bastard," Saya told him, glaring at the blonde with great vehemence, which caused both Naruto and Keitaro to blink. Naruto hadn't really done much to warrant such anger on Saya's part, yet, but she seemed unusually angry at him. But then, Keitaro spotted her eyes briefly flickering towards the blonde woman at Naruto's side, and he sort of understood. Saya was jealous of the attention that Naruto paying to the girl at his side, but expressed it in a way that led her to believe that she was angry at Naruto for being a pervert. Typical high school type drama, Keitaro thought, recalling his own days in high school. "It's alright, Saya-chan. I can handle it," Azusa replied, getting the blonde some more alcohol. The wife of the town leader had joined Saya behind the counter, as she usually did after her work as a doctor in the local hospital. Keitaro didn't understand for the life of him why the wealthy woman would want to work a second job, let alone the first, but Azusa always claimed that bartending in Saya's bar was more of a form of entertainment rather than work. Keitaro recognized her words for what they really meant. After all, Azusa only really started bartending in Saya's bar after Naruto had come to town. And just like that, a plan formed inside Kitaro's head. "Saya-san?" Keitaro spoke up, attracting Saya's attention again. "Would you mind accompanying me home?" Saya looked at him surprised, but the reaction that Keitaro was really looking forward to seeing was Naruto's. Out of the corner of his eyes, Keitaro noticed the stony look that the blonde was giving him. He reveled in it. "Oh, I wish that I could, but I need to watch after the bar," Saya said, flustered at Kitaro's request. Keitaro immediately rebutted her claim. "Saisama-sama can watch the bar, can you not?" Keitaro said, tilting his head to the gorgeous raven-haired woman who was observing the proceedings calmly. She didn't reply immediately, but eventually nodded her assent. "I can, if Saya-chan trusts me to look after her bar," the raven-haired beauty replied. Saya licked her lips nervously, and Keitaro felt kind of bad putting the girl he liked on the spot. "Well, if it's too much trouble, then it's okay, Keitaro said, trailing off. He was playing his cards using Saya's kindness as a crutch. Naruto continued to look at Saya with a hard face. "No, Saya stammered, giving Naruto a hesitant glance, flinching slightly at the stony look he was giving her. Her eyes flickered towards Temari once more, and her eyebrows tightened. Keitaro knew what her answer would be right there and then. "Alright," Saya finally replied. Not surprisingly, Naruto was the first person to react. "Oh, Saya! You can't be serious!" Naruto spoke up loudly. "What the fuck do you think this little shit wants with you?" Saya snapped back at him before Keitaro could do so. "What the hell is it to you? You don't know Keitaro like I do. He isn't like you," Saya retorted angrily. Naruto glared at her, not backing down at her likewise fierce look. Keitaro, Azusa, and Temari watched their interaction silently, not interfering. "He's just trying to piss me off." Naruto returned fire. "He doesn't actually want to be with you. He just wants to get at me by getting into your pants." It was evidently the wrong thing for the slightly inebriated Naruto to say, as Saya's glare turned murderous. Not everybody thinks like you, Uzumaki Naruto." Saya suddenly screamed at him, quieting the bar rather quickly. All the patrons looked at the spectacle, not believing their eyes. Naruto and Saya did have their fair share of fights, but none of this seriousness and magnitude. Naruto and Saya glared at one another, their anger permeating in the silence. The brief period of silence was marred only by Saya's faintly heavy breathing. They continued to make eye contact, but soon enough, tears sprung to Saya's eyes. Naruto stopped glaring and sagged slightly. He hadn't meant to make her cry. She turned away from him, showing him her back as she stepped around the counter. Azusa, who was also behind the counter, just stepped out of the brunette's way and watched her go with a sad look on her face. "Let's go, Kitaro-san," Saya said to Keitaro, and she walked away towards the exit. Keitaro shot Naruto a look that looked all too smug, but the brunette hurried after Saya before anything could happen between the two. But Naruto wasn't done. "Saya," he called. "Saya, come on." Saya ignored him and continued for the exit. "Saya, I was only trying to look for you," Naruto told her, though he didn't chase after her. He wasn't so cliché, and Temari was still with him after all. However, Saya left without saying a word to him and Keitaro followed her right out. Naruto was left staring at the exit for a moment before shaking his head. As he turned back to Temari, explaining the story, Naruto felt a myriad of emotions coursing through him. Anger at Keitaro for the stunt he pulled, anger at Saya for not seeing through it. But above all else, he just felt hurt. Hurt that Saya would just go with Keitaro like that, leaving Naruto behind. And he didn't know why. But regardless of how things had gone down, Naruto knew that Saya would be back tonight. She was a firm believer of chastity, after all. Perhaps after he got Temari settled in one of the spare rooms, he would apologize to her and try to make things better again. It wasn't like they could get any worse. Naruto woke slowly, soaking in the warmth he felt around him. He yawned slightly and blinked his eyes a few times, shaking off the sleep. Only then did he notice that there was a body next to him under the blankets. A naked body. A naked female body. A naked female body next to his own naked body. A naked female body hugging up against his naked body. "Oh yeah, I scored last nigga, oh my god. Oh shit. Oh shit." Naruto's thoughts turned from self-congratulatory to panic as the memories of last night came flooding back. Memories that were both awesome and also absolutely terrifying at the same. Beside him, Temari shifted her head looking into his eyes, feeling him wake up. She smiled at the whiskered blonde, showing Naruto a side to her that he had never seen before. Temari had certainly never smiled so coyly before. "Good morning," she said, and Naruto nervously smiled back at her. "Mornin'," he replied easily. He was thinking something far more different. "I am a fucking retard. If Gaara finds out about this, he's going to fucking murder me." Naruto thought frantically, "I am so dead." I had Temari started, referring to their activities the night before, but she just trailed off at the end, too embarrassed to continue. Naruto rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. Yeah?" he said, giving a nervous laugh. "I'm so dead. I'm so fucking dead." Temari bit her lip, slightly hesitant to continue the awkward conversation, but she powered on. "You were my first," she told him needlessly. He had been with her last night. Naruto didn't roll his eyes to the obvious statement. He wasn't about to get himself in deeper trouble, not that he wasn't a dead man already. "Damn it, Shikamaru, you lazy coward! Are you so afraid of Gaara that you couldn't even lay her?" Naruto thought, not caring that he himself was also scared shitless of the scarlet-haired Kazekage. Yeah, mine too," Naruto lied. Inwardly, Naruto continued to berate himself. "Damn it, I can't believe I broke my number one rule, never sleep with virgins. Gah, I'm so stupid," Naruto thought, getting more and more worried. This was one rule that Naruto had set for himself regarding his sex life, to never sleep with virgins. In Naruto's experience, it was the virgins that got clingy, and that was something that Naruto did not want at the moment. Clingy women, especially ones that had connections to the hidden leaf, were not good for Konoha missing nin like Naruto. Some men did like to score virgins, but Naruto was neither a pedophile nor a rapist, and he did not go around pedophiling and raping women, so he stayed away from virgin companionship. Temari's smile widened and she leaned in to capture a morning kiss. Naruto immediately turned away and let out a hacking cough, making sure to get a bit of phlegm in there as well. Temari frowned at his, but did not try to kiss him again. Phew, that was close, Naruto thought, happy with his quick thinking. So he spoke up, breaking the brief silence. "How about we get up?" Temari nodded, as she sat up with her back to Naruto. The blonde oddly felt both relieved and disappointed at this. "I should be getting back to Suna soon," Temari told him, gathering her clothes. "I'm already late, and if I take any longer, they might get suspicious." Naruto licked his lips in anticipation, getting dressed alongside the girl he has just spent the night with. This is it. Come on, acting skills, don't let me down. So, will you be putting me under Suna's protection? Naruto asked her, making her think that he assumed she was going to rat on him to Konoha. Temari looked back at him with a slightly reproachful look. I think that this is a secret that should be kept for the sakes of a lot of people. Temari informed the blonde, hesitating for only a second. I'll keep your location a secret until there's a matter of great importance. Naruto cheered himself on the inside. I'm still a missing nin. I abandoned my village. Who knows how many people I could have saved if I was still there? Naruto said, inject a bit of anguish into his voice. Temari shook her head. And you've probably saved many more lives by leaving. Who knows how many people might have died if Akatsuki attacked? Temari replied. She was already fully dressed, and rubbing her temples gingerly. Naruto thought, hangover. Naruto felt it himself, but he made no move to cure it. He had a higher chance of getting something past a Temari with a hangover than a Temari with a clear mind. Thank you, Temari, Naruto said, smiling at her graciously. He had to stop himself from rolling his eyes at sounding like a teenage boy who had just gotten it for the first time from an older woman. Temari just smiled at him. You're welcome, Naruto. Temari grabbed her fan and slipped on her sandals, already fully clothed. Naruto also slipped into his geta. So, Naruto said, I'll accompany you out. It was a sunny morning, and judging by the position of the sun, Naruto estimated it to be just past 9 in the morning. Naruto and Temari stood across from each other, looking at each other one last time before she would leave. Then, neither knew when they would see each other next, though Naruto hoped it would be later rather than sooner. Temari wore her fan on her back as she usually did, dressed in light-colored clothing as compared to the all-black that she used to wear a few years back. Naruto personally thought that she had come to her senses. He never really understood why she wore dark clothing in the middle of the freaking desert of all places. I guess I'll see you when I see you then, Temari said, holding out her hand. Naruto glanced at it, remembering a similar scene a few years back with Gaara. Yeah, Naruto replied, grabbing her hand in a firm handshake. Temari bit her bottom lip for a moment, before pulling the blonde in and smashing her lips against his in a searing kiss. Oh. Well, that's different, Naruto thought, but he kissed her back nonetheless. He did have an act to keep up, or rather, that's just what he liked to tell himself. The two blondes remained in lip lock for a few moments before breaking apart, their breathing slightly heavy. Temari regarded him with a gentle smile before turning away, waving goodbye over her shoulder. Take care, Uzumaki Naruto, she called, walking away. Ja-ni, Naruto replied, watching her walk away. And almost naturally, his eyes shifted to her delightful backside. And despite himself, Naruto grinned. Gaara's probably going to kill me, and Shikamaru might hate me for a while, but it was fucking worth it. Naruto couldn't help but think, I hit that ass. Naruto walked into Saya's bar, noticing that it was empty of any customers. It was usually so on weekday mornings, when most of the patrons were at work. And as usual, Azusa was behind the counter already, prepared for the odd customer that might turn up. Wait a minute. Azusa-chan? What are you doing here so early? Naruto asked, confused to see the pinnacle of his sexual aspirations working in the bar so early. He had expected to see Saya there and was planning to apologize to her, since he hadn't caught her last night. Azusa merely smiled at him. Good morning, Naruto-kun. As for your question, I stayed the night in Saya-chan's bedroom because she failed to return to close her bar at its usual time. Azusa replied easily. Just as Naruto was about to question her further, a weary-looking Saya walked into the bar. Naruto regarded her with a raised eyebrow. Saya? Where'd you go so early in the morning? Naruto asked her, his curiosity overriding his plans of apology. Saya yawned tiredly before answering, apparently no longer angry at the blonde for his offensive comments the night before. I didn't go out, I just got back, Saya replied, not realizing how it sounded. Naruto felt his blood turn cold. You what? Naruto asked, not believing his ears. You just got back from Kitaro's place? Saya's eyes widened as she realized what she had just said. No, that's not. What the fuck, Saya? Naruto exploded, cutting her off. I thought you were going to stay a virgin forever. Saya regarded him with surprise, not expecting his reaction. Azusa just watched the scene, staying as serene as always. No, Naruto, it isn't what you think, Saya started, but Naruto refused to let her finish, letting his anger cloud his rationality. Just the very thought of Saya with that bastard Keitaro, The thought of Saya being with anyone Naruto absolutely hated the idea with a surprising vehemence that he usually reserved for enemies like Orochimaru. You did this just to spite me, didn't you? Naruto cut her off, glaring furiously at her. Saya, not believing how upset Naruto was at the thought that she had gotten deflowered, laughed at the absurdity of it, though it was the wrong thing to do. Unbeknownst to either of them, Azusa shook her head sadly at Saya's slip. You think it's just a joke? Saya, Naruto trailed off, shutting his eyes tightly and gripping his head with both hands. He had been blindsided by this. Never in a million years would he have expected Saya to do this. Naruto didn't even try to understand why he was so angry. All he knew was that he was pissed off beyond belief, and that his chest felt constricting as if someone was squeezing his heart. A very distant corner of his mind reminded him that he did have his heart squeezed before, by some psycho-medic nin in one of Orochimaru's lair when he went on a mission with Jiraiya and Sakura, but he ignored that. You fucking bitch. Naruto bit out in low tones, sounding oddly defeated. Saya looked taken aback at Naruto's aggressive comment, before she got pretty angry herself. Shut up. What's it to you if I spent the night at Kitaro's place? Saya suddenly shouted at him, and it was Naruto's turn to be taken aback. Why do you care if I had sex with Keitaro? Naruto opened his mouth furiously to reply to her, but had nothing to say, so he was just left staring at the angry brunette with an open mouth. Saya watched him with a raised eyebrow, waiting for a reply. Nothing to say? She continued, her voice levels falling though her anger continued to simmer to dangerous heights. Are you jealous? Were you planning on being the one to take my virginity, you pervert? Saya left out the fact that she was, in fact, still a virgin. She would never have slept with Keitaro even if her life depended on it. As a matter of fact, as soon as she had gotten to his place, Kitaro's mother, a woman that Naruto had slept with, had invited her in and the two stayed up all night chatting amicably until it was late enough that she insisted that Saya stay the night, which the brunette reluctantly did. Naruto felt shaken that Saya would think such things of him. No matter how flexible Naruto's moralities had become, he never planned maliciously against his friends, and it extremely hurt that Saya would say such a thing. But he was more angry than hurt, so Saya's insult fed his anger to dangerous levels, and his control just slipped. Wind started kicking around the blonde, blowing away the various pieces of furniture around him into the walls. Naruto glared at Saya with a ferocity that she had never seen before, and the girl quickly became frightened of what was happening, and of the look he was giving her. It was that look of terror on her face that allowed Naruto to realize what was happening, and Naruto reined in his chakra, causing the whistling winds to cease. Naruto gave Saya a hard look for several moments as she continued to regard him with fear, and he cast Azusa a glance as well, who had lost her serenity in favor of fright at Naruto's angry display of power. Feeling angry and hurt, Naruto just sighed deeply. Shaking his head, Naruto just shoved his hands into his pockets. Fuck this shit, he muttered, and he stepped around Saya and left the bar. The two remaining women stood in the wrecked bar silently for a moment, before Saya burst into tears. What just happened? Saya thought, miserably sobbing as Azusa came over and hugged the brunette, comforting her somewhat. Why did this happen? There was no answer. So you stormed out of there. Then what? Shibu asked, downing the shot glass of liquor he held in his hand. Naruto just shrugged. I was pretty pissed off, so I went to the outskirts of town to blow off some steam, the blonde replied. Shibu scratched his thick beard, pouring himself another glass of liquor. Shibu, the leader of the town of Furu, looked very similar to Kongu. More than that, the two of them had practically the same personality. Though it was more truthful to say that Kongu was like Shibu. As his bodyguard, Kongu was often required to be Shibu on several occasions, so he had to look like him and act like him. So that was the reason behind all the commotion. Shibu commented, people thought that an apocalypse was coming, all those earthquakes and gale winds and shit. Naruto innocently shrugged. You forgot the part where you shut the F. Cried like a little bitch. Kongu cut in, chuckling. Uck up, Kongu! Fuck damn it, I wasn't crying, you go fucking turd shit. Naruto furiously replied, glaring at the man. Shibu looked at Naruto in disbelief, the humor on his face evident, while Kongu just started chuckling even harder. Wahahaha! You cried! Shibu exclaimed, laughing at the ill-tempered blonde. Turd shit? Kongu repeated, amused. Fuck you too, Shibu, I didn't cry. Naruto said warningly, I'll fucking shit in your mouth if you don't shut up, you know I can do it. Shibu's laughter died down to soft chuckles, though he did shudder. Poor guy. said the leader of the village, shaking his head sadly. He was never the same after you shit in his mouth. Turd and shit is the same thing, Kanga commented, still amused. He never was, Naruto repeated, though it was actually dog shit. Really? Shubu asked, surprised at the revelation. Yep. Naruto responded, my shit isn't really all that flammable. Why do you know that? Kanga asked, giving the whiskered blonde a weird look. Naruto just shrugged. I experiment, Naruto replied, but that dog shit though, it melted quite nicely. It burned the inside of his mouth. The doctors had a hell of a time fixing that. Shubu said, it was pretty extreme. Yeah, well, that'll learn him. TCH, it was an accident, he claimed. You don't fuck with me when I'm eating ramen, Naruto proclaimed, downing his own shot glass. He offered to pay for your ramen, Kanga pointed out. He didn't have no money, Naruto retorted. That's because you took all of his money right before you beat him up and burned the inside of his mouth with melted dog shit, Kanga said. Naruto shook his head. I don't know what you want from me, I'm just one man. Anyway, Azus is in a right state, Shubu mentioned, steering the conversation back on track. She was pretty upset about what happened between you and Saya. She thinks of the two of you as her own kids. Naruto winced. Yeah, Naruto said, frowning, not that I don't appreciate it, but that's probably what makes it really hard to convince Azusa-chan to have sex with me. Though I'm pretty sure that deep down, she's real kinky like that. Shubu chuckled. Good luck with that. She barely touched me long enough to make pho, and even then it was only because of the one kid requirement for my position. Shubu informed the blonde, and we haven't had sex since. Hell, I haven't even seen her naked. Even that one time, it was all under the covers and shit, and even then she kept her top on. I hate that through the whole shit. Why the fuck is she married to you anyway? Naruto asked. Nobody ever told me the story, and she obviously doesn't like you. Shubu shrugged. I was next in line to be leader/dictator of Furu, and I had to choose my bride. Shubu said, I picked Azusa, but she asked me to choose someone else. Her family had raised her to be refined and modest, and I was a brute, as she called me, which was pretty insulting. You said no? Naruto said, eyebrows raised, though she's right about that brute thing. I call you a fucking Neanderthal every day of the week. Shubu just shrugged nonchalantly, ignoring Naruto's bad mood. She was the hottest girl there, and I was pretty fucking horny. I don't think she was too happy when I said no. Shubu said, but stop going off topic. What are you going to do about this situation? Azusa's upset, and when she's upset, she wants me to fix it. I don't like that, Naruto. I really don't. Fix this. Oh, look at the time, Naruto exclaimed suddenly, looking at his watchless wrist and standing to leave. I'd better be going. Leaving already? The fuck? Naruto spun around, only to see Fu playing with dolls behind the one-seater he had been sitting on. Fu. What, when, how long have you been there? Aren't you ninjas supposed to know when people are hidden near you? Shubu asked. Ain't y'all ninjas supposed to know when dem paples are in are you? Naruto snapped at him in mocking tones. Learn something about the world you live in, you fucking hick. Shubu raised an eyebrow, and Naruto ducked his head. I never was good at that, always aware of things around you shit, Naruto admitted, before turning his attention back to Shubu's daughter. Fu! Naruto exclaimed, pointing at her, I haven't forgotten about you. What are you doing here? I was playing with my dolls, Fu told him, showing Naruto 2 dolls. He noticed that the male had blonde hair and the female was a brunette. Somehow, I get the oddest feeling that those dolls are supposed to be me and Saya, Naruto thought bemusedly. Is it true that Naruto Naikin and Sayanichin got into another fight? The girl asked the whiskered demon container. Of course not. Naruto easily lied to the little girl that adored him so much. Why would you think that? Well, you were just talking about it with Dad and Kongu, Fu replied. Naruto furrowed his eyebrows. Exactly how long were you in here? Naruto asked her. Fu shrugged. I followed you in, she replied. What's a turd shit? Naruto winced at Fu's repetition of his expletive. Shit, Azusa's gonna fucking kill me, Naruto thought worriedly. Never you mind. But kiddo, don't worry about me and Saya. All friendships have rough patches. We'll be back to normal soon enough, Naruto told the young girl. Inwardly, he wanted to believe his own words, but found himself thinking that perhaps things between Saya and he might not be the same ever again. Good, because you and Sayanichan are going to get married, and then you can be my new dad, Fu declared. Naruto felt a painful stab in his chest at thought of marriage. Shubu gave Fu the middle finger. Fuck you too, kid, he gruffly told his daughter, grabbing a cigar from the table and lighting it up. Fu innocently shrugged. Is it friendships or relationships that have rough patches? Kongu wondered, gathering everyone's focus. Why do you care so much that she had relations with Keitaro? Despite all his crudeness, Kongu was quite attached to Fu, as he often spent much of his time as her personal bodyguard when he wasn't guarding Shubu. He often toned himself down around the young girl. Naruto didn't know the answer to either question, so he responded in the only way he could think of. Azusa couldn't kill him twice. Shut the fuck up, you wad. What do you know? You haven't gotten laid for over 2 months, Naruto said to Kongu, who lowered his head in embarrassment. I just recently had a 13-some with 12 hot-ass women. Then Naruto turned to the silently smoking Shubu. And you, don't even bother saying anything. I have a better chance of fucking your wife than you do. You frigging suck, dude, Naruto said to the man, who held up both hands as a sign of peace. You people piss me off, Naruto proclaimed, scowling angrily. Except you, Fu, you're awesome. But I'm still getting the fuck out of here. All 3 of the other occupants watched him storm out in silence. After he left, it was Shubu that spoke up first. He really is upset about this whole Saya losing her virginity thing, Shubu said, and the funny thing is that she didn't even have sex with the boy. Azusa told me that Saya is still a virgin. He's upset, and he might not even exactly know why, Kongu said, not at all surprised that Saya still retained her virginity. Saya wasn't the type of person that would lose something as important as that to just any person, especially to a stranger. I guess he really likes the girl, Shubu commented. Fu had already lost interest in the conversation. She had gone back to making her doll's kiss. Kongu nodded in assent. That's as obvious as how much she likes him, but that might not be the reason he's pissed off. Kongu said, he doesn't know that he likes her, but it may have to do with more than that. To Naruto, the thought of Saya losing her virginity has little to do with her having sex, and more to do with her losing what he perceives as her purity. Shubu gave Kongu an inquiring look. Once, when he was drunk, Naruto told me that he loved someone. Kongu confided in his disbelieving companion. I know. Naruto and love don't normally go in the same sentence without pretend to be in, and to have sex to accompany them. I think Saya probably reminds him of the woman he might have loved once upon a time. Who was the woman? Shubu asked, curious. Kongu shrugged. No clue. He never talks about it. Maybe a virgin sister that got raped or a virgin girlfriend that cheated on him, the bearded bodyguard suggested. Shubu decided to take it and go with it. Or an incestuous virgin sister that cheated on him, and then later got raped. I like the raped angle. Oh, maybe his mother was a virgin that got raped, and he's the rape baby. And then when he was a kid, his mother raped him, taking his virginity. Then his mother got raped again and had the incestuous virgin rape baby sister that promised her virginity to him, but then cheated on him. And then the mother later raped that same sis. Please stop. Kongu cut in, finally having enough. A silence descended upon the 2 bearded men. After a few moments, Shubu broke it. So he cried? Kongu sniggered. Like a little bitch. Naruto lay back on the plush grass, staring up at the clouds rolling by in the azure sky. There was an oddly calming nature to those puffy white cream puffs, and Naruto couldn't help agree with Shikamaru about just laying back and spending his days like this. I almost regret fucking your girlfriend, Shika, Naruto thought, thinking back to when he had slept with Temari. Things had started to go south ever since the sandy blonde sand Kunoichi had found him. From worrying about behind apprehended by his old village, to the whole fiasco with Saya, everything had gone wrong since. Fucking hell, my life is a fucking drama, Naruto thought, raising his hands to the skies and flipping them off. I don't know who's writing out my life, but fuck you for giving me such a fucked up story, Naruto thought angrily, and fuck you to anyone reading it. Yo! Huh! Naruto glanced up, to see a large figure looming over him, grinning. Naruto lowered his hands, still flipping the bird, and sat up. The figure in question was a dark-skinned Kumo-nin wearing very strange get-up. The ninja had on a white vest and a multitude of swords strapped to his back, along with a purple rope tied around his waist. His hair was as blonde as Naruto's, though the ex-but not really Konoha-nin did not want to believe that the man's hair color was natural. How's it go, blonde man with the nasty hands? The ninja rapped, flipping the bird to the world, Why you so crazy, Mr. Lazy? Naruto stared at the man, unsure of what to say, so he just said the first thing that came to his mind. Who the fuck are you? Whoa, Joe! Watch that crazy tongue or Killer Bee will bring the funk, the man replied. Naruto looked at him as if he were stupid. What the fuck are you saying? Naruto asked, genuinely confused at the man's strange speech patterns. Not saying nuttin', this is rappin', baby. Naruto shook his head in exasperation. This was the last thing he needed. Listen, I don't know what you want with me, but there ain't gonna be any nutting going on here. If you want to bust a nut, go into town. Naruto told the man, pointing towards Furu, there's a brothel in there. As for raping babies, well, I can't help you there, you hippie. Yo, Killer Bee ain't no hippie, you pretty fresh with the mess, kid. Killer Bee replied before holding out his fist, gimme some dap for a scrap. Naruto had no idea what the idiot in front of him wanted, so he just cooperated in hopes that Killer Bee would leave him alone. After giving the taller man some dap, Killer Bee jumped away, getting into an obviously hostile stance. Naruto narrowed his eyes. A fight? Well, why didn't you just say so in the first place? Naruto smirked, getting into his own attack stance. This was exactly what he needed to relieve his stress. Fuck Shikamaru and his clouds. The rush of adrenaline, the pounding of flesh on flesh, the grunts of exertion. Fighting was just like sex. Naruto had a lot of built-up tension to release. Killer Bee was going to learn just who the real killer was. But not the bee, he could keep that. Both fighters took a moment to observe each other, taking in the fighting stances, gleaning whatever data they could before it would be too late. Stand back and observe. And almost as if there were a silent signal between the two, both rushed at each other at the same time with a flurry of movement. Despite his greater girth, Naruto noted that Killer Bee was incredibly fast. Combined with his heaviness, the momentum of the Kumo Nin's attack sent shocks throughout Naruto's body even though the blonde blocked the blow. Ignoring the slight fuzzy feeling in his arms, Naruto quickly spun to the right, lashing out with a kick, which Killer Bee simply pushed aside with his left arm. The rapping ninja swung forward with his right fist, putting his weight into the punch. Unfortunately, the ninja did not notice that Naruto's left leg had remained glued to his arm. Using the momentum from Killer Bee's movement, Naruto brought up his right knee to smash into the side of the Cloud Nin's head. Killer Bee ducked as quickly as possible, driving the hilt of one of the swords strapped to his back into Naruto's knee. Ignoring the blaring pain from his injured kneecap, Naruto smashed his elbow onto the top of the blonde-haired Nin's head. Seemingly unaffected by the blow, Killer Bee grabbed Naruto's other leg and threw him well across the field. Naruto quickly called upon his affinity for wind and straightened himself while still in the air in case the other ninja pursued. But it was for naught as the rap-happy ninja just stood stationary. Naruto took the opportunity to land safely. After he was stationary, the whiskered blonde scrutinized the larger man, confused at why he had not pursued the throw. Killer Bee took out a notepad and began writing in it, nodding to himself every now and then. Naruto just gaped at the absurdity of it. Stopping right in the middle of a fight. The blonde raged, this isn't like sex at all. Yo, Blondie! Killer Bee called out after he had paused his writing. What's your name? Naruto. The blonde replied, slightly hesitant about giving his real name to the ninja. Killer Bee started at this, much to Naruto's confusion. Wait, are you Uzumaki Naruto? Killer Bee asked, looking excited. At Naruto's nod, Killer Bee let out a loud laugh. No way! Holy crap, I never thought I'd meet the jink that trumps 8. Killer Bee exclaimed, surprising the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. He walked over to the blonde Konoha Nin, much more friendly this time. Damn man, them red clouds been looking for you forever. This is where you been hiding out. Killer Bee remarked, looking around amazedly. Hold up, you're the container of the 8-tailed beast? Naruto asked, surprised at the odds of the two Jinchuriki meeting like this. Don't look so shocked, you're looking at the container of the 8-tailed ox. Killer Bee rapped back at the blonde. What's your name, anyway? Naruto asked, and why did you come here? People call me Killer Bee, but my real name is a secret. I ain't told that to nobody, but I'll tell you since you a fellow jink. Killer Bee said, and he leaned in to whisper his secret, my name's Kirabi. To his credit, Naruto held back from punching Killer Bee in the face. And I came here cause I wanted to explore the world and improve my rap skills. Killer Bee continued. Naruto frowned. What the fuck is rap? He asked, frustrated at his lack of information regarding the words coming out of Killer Bee's mouth. It was Killer Bee's turn to gape at the blonde. You're kidding me. Blondie, rap is music. Killer Bee exclaimed. Naruto just shrugged. Are you sure? 'Cause it sure doesn't sound like music to me, Naruto replied, but forget that for now. Tell me, how do you know that I was the Kyuubi Jinchuriki and my name and all that? From a bingo book? I ran into some of those Akatsuki goons a few weeks ago. They was asking about you. But you ain't listed in the bingo book as a jink, so no worries there. Killer Bee replied, but yo, let's continue our battle. I wanna settle the metal, faster than a pot kettle and I. Naruto sighed. Killer Bee's presence here meant that Akatsuki was most likely close on the trail, meaning he'd have to leave Fura behind, lest the village be burned to the ground because he had to fight off the Akatsuki. They were on the move once more. Ever since Naruto and his team had fought off Sasori and Deidara to rescue Gaara, Akatsuki had taken another break from attempting to gather the Jinchuriki. Naruto had no idea why that was, and he really regretted that the information came to him after he had left Konoha behind, but it was still welcome news. But now it seemed that they had once again remobilized. Naruto would have to tread really carefully once again. But until then, he'd have as much fun as he could. Alright, let's do it, Naruto said suddenly, grinning at the slightly surprised look on Kurabi's face. Let's see if 9 really trumps 8. Killer Bee grinned back. Yo, we on the... But no rapping. Alright, fish cake, we got taijutsu covered, and I'm pretty sure that neither of us is any good at genjutsu. What you wanna do now? Kurabi asked, folding his arms and staring at the blonde from a distance. Naruto shrugged. Let's just fight, Naruto said. Use whatever you want to. Alright, Killer Bee exclaimed, and he drew all 4 of his swords, getting into the weirdest sword stance that Naruto had ever seen. In retaliation, Naruto summoned his own sword. The Cloud Neem blinked at the sword popping out of nowhere. Hold up, I didn't know you did magic tricks. How'd you do that? A magician never reveals his secrets, Naruto stated. Kurabi didn't reply, and there was a short pause between the two. Alright, I'll tell you, Naruto said excitedly, feeling giddy. Nobody ever asks me. It's pretty simple. I was studying Fuinjutsu, and I got pretty annoyed about sealing shit inside and taking shit out of scrolls. That takes too fucking long. But after I realized that my chakra had affinity for wind, I decided to seal my things into the wind. Oh. I don't get it, Killer Bee said. How the hell do you seal things into the wind? Naruto shrugged. I have no idea. I never bothered to learn the mechanics of Fuinjutsu. I hate that shit. You don't need to know how Fuinjutsu works in order to kill people with it, he replied. All I know is that I'm sealing whatever I want into the wind. No hand seals or nothing? Naruto shrugged again. I spent years perfecting it. But do you really want to just talk or do you want to fight? Naruto roared, giving Killer Bee no warning as he suddenly rushed at him with his sword at the ready. Killer Bee reacted instantly, flipping forward, rolling in the air and attacking Naruto with his multitude of swords, aiming to stab. Naruto dodged the first sword and stepped on 2 others while pushing away the 4th sword with his free hand. Swinging forward with his free hand, Naruto aimed to slice at Killer Bee's abdomen. However, the larger man shifted mid-motion, and one of his swords swerved straight towards the blonde, leaving him without enough time to dodge it. Just as Killer Bee was about to stab into the blonde, another large object suddenly appeared between the two, pushing them apart. Recovering, Killer Bee looked on in disbelief at the couch that had suddenly appeared between the two. Naruto just swore, looking at the sword that was now lodged in the couch. Damn it, that was a perfectly good couch, he complained, mourning his loss. Killer Bee grinned. Blondie, I can tell I'm gonna have a lot of fun with you. And just like that, Killer Bee took his sword out of Naruto's poor couch, and sheathed it along with all of his others. Slamming his hands together, Killer Bee focused his massive chakra and began quickly sifting through hand seals. Let's see how you do against my lightning, he roared, activating his lightning jutsu. As electricity suddenly covered Killer Bee's body, Naruto quickly began his own hand seals. You don't have to yell, Naruto calmly replied, even as Killer Bee charged at him while covered in lightning chakra. Killer Bee jumped straight at the blonde, and right as he was about to make contact, Naruto lightly tapped his foot on the ground. Large rectangular pillars suddenly rose dozens of feet from the ground, taking the blonde with them. Unable to stop his charge, Killer Bee smashed straight through one of them, tripping and falling onto the ground, canceling out his lightning technique. He immediately rolled away to the side, barely avoiding getting crushed by the debris of the pillar he had charged through. As his roll ended, the Cloud Jinchuriki stood up, only to notice that he was now completely surrounded by a circular wall of hardened dirt. The hell? Killer Bee thought, confused at how quickly the pillars had merged together. The blonde had clearly stated that he had an affinity for wind, not earth. This kind of manipulation was clearly that of someone who had mastered Earth Nature Chakra. However, Killer Bee had no time to ponder this as Wood suddenly leaped out of the ground beneath him and wrapped around his arms, legs, and torso, holding him down. Killer Bee pointedly ignored the fact that Wood manipulation should have been a technique that died with the first Hokage. Damn it! He cursed, as he struggled to break out of the wood. What next? He soon wished he hadn't asked. The walls surrounding him suddenly melted, coming down upon the trapped Jinchuriki. Damn it! No! My clothes are why Killer Bee yelled out, getting cut off as the mud came crashing down upon him. Far away from the devastation of the once plush land, Naruto smirked. That was pretty easy, he remarked. He watched as Killer Bee rose out of the mud, dragging himself over to the blonde, the mud slowing him down. He was covered from head to toe in mud, his white vest now ruined. Bitch, you totally ruined my get-up, Killer Bee said, glaring at Naruto who kept smirking, but you completely caught me off guard. What's your secret? I was using Kyuubi's chakra, Naruto replied. Killer Bee continued to wait for an answer, but Naruto wasn't going to be forthcoming about it. Killer Bee suddenly grinned again. I like you, kid. Hey listen, how about we go on a road trip? Travel throughout the land, put on a few rap concerts, hit the bars? Killer Bee suggested. Amazingly, Naruto wasn't put off by the idea. It seemed like a plausible thing to do, especially if Akatsuki was coming this way. Bang the women? Naruto added, looking hopeful. It was his way of agreeing with the older Jinchuriki, and they both knew it. If you want, Killer Bee replied, feeling excited at the idea of traveling with the Jinchuriki of the nine-tailed demon fox. Come on, let's get going. Already? How about you get cleaned up and we go get some drinks first? Naruto asked, feeling slight fond of the annoying rapper. And where do I get cleaned up? Killer Bee asked, still slightly angry at the blonde for ruining his clothes. Naruto just tapped his foot on the ground again. Killer Bee gave the blonde a suspicious look right before the ground beneath his feet suddenly split open and he fell into a pool of water. Damn it, Blondie! The Kumonin yelled at the blonde, who had jumped away laughing. See you in town! Naruto yelled back, speeding back to the town. He felt happier than he had in a while. This road trip may be exactly what he needed to put this whole Saya thing behind him. Azusa came downstairs into the bar, not disappointed to find Naruto sitting at one of the tables with a large dark-skinned ninja, discussing something that she was not currently interested in listening to. Saya was behind the counter, pointed ignoring the blonde, though sometimes casting furtive glances in his direction. Ever since Naruto and Saya had had their yelling match, Saya had gone out of her way to avoid the bad-tempered blonde. To Azusa, Saya was, for all intents and purposes, a daughter. Ever since she had witnessed her parents' murder, an event at which Azusa was also present, Saya had resided with Azusa for several years, during which time both Azusa and Fu became fond of the brunette. Then, when she had been old enough, Saya moved out of their home to take up the bar that her parents had opened. And since then, life had dredged on, normality and boredom taking prevalence in their lives. Then Naruto came. And everything changed. He and Saya hadn't taken to each other. Naruto acted a perverted womanizer, as Saya called him, and Saya was a prude, as Naruto called her. However, despite the initially poor impressions both had for each other, Naruto and Saya's explosive interactions soon became exactly what each needed. Naruto brought adventure and excitement into Saya's normally drab life, and Saya brought a sense of normalcy and comfort to Naruto's lonely state of living. They balanced each other out, an age-old recipe that Azusa had seen a plethora of times in her life. But it only worked if the two stayed together, and that was precisely why Azusa was currently approaching Naruto. Naruto-kun? Naruto's eyes met hers, and Azusa sadly noticed that they didn't light up as they usually did when he saw her. But she was partly to blame, after all. This was the first time she had approached the whiskered blonde since he and Saya had their fight. She had spent most of her free time with Saya, and Naruto was probably a little hurt that she hadn't even checked on him. For reasons unknown to the gorgeous raven-haired beauty, Naruto seemed to hold a lot of stock with her opinion of him. But that matter could be addressed later. Yeah? He must really be upset that I had yet to approach him. Azusa thought, a small amount of guilt. He's not normally so reticent with me. The bar was thankfully empty except for the four of them. The regular customers were likely working. I would like to inquire why your room is completely devoid of your belongings, Azusa stated. Naruto shrugged at her questioning not question. I'm leaving, he replied. His reply gathered Saya's attention, though she still avoided directly looking at him, for fear of meeting his eyes. Azusa raised an eyebrow. And were you going to tell us for how long? She asked, her tone cold. Despite how hurt Naruto may be feeling, he was still being extremely childish. Had he planned to leave without informing anyone? It infuriated the customarily calm woman when Naruto shrugged again. I was. Naruto replied quietly. His quiet tone calmed Azusa's anger somewhat. When will you be back? Azusa asked the suddenly solemn blonde. The sword-equipped ninja with ex-Konoha nin looked between the conversationalists with slight interest. I'm not sure. Naruto replied, glancing at his cohort. Could be weeks, months, maybe even years. It might be never. That got Saya's undivided attention. She now looked at the blonde, wide-eyed at Naruto's reply. Azusa continued their conversation as if Naruto hadn't said something so devastating to the lives of practically everybody in Furu. Naruto's various jobs brought in a large amount of money. Naruto, Saya said, finally speaking up. Azusa hid her smile. The girl at least knew better than to hold on to a silly grudge, especially when someone as important to her as Naruto decided he wanted to leave. Naruto looked at Saya, surprised that she was speaking to him. I didn't sleep with Keitaro. I was up all night talking with his mother, Saya told him frantically. Naruto looked even more surprised than he did when Saya spoke to him. I was all Naruto mattered to stutter out. He had realized his mistake. Look, you don't have to leave because of me. I'm sorry for everything that happened, but just don't leave, Saya said, sounding anxious, hopping over the counter and walking over to the small group. Naruto's surprise slowly ebbed away. That's not why I'm leaving, Naruto told Saya. Azusa's eyebrows furrowed at Naruto's reply. Then may I infer as to why you are leaving? She asked. Yo, me and Kid Wonder over here are going on a tour of the world. Killer Bee spoke up, we gonna hit it big. Ignore him, Naruto said firmly, there are dangerous people after me. If they find me here, they'd likely destroy Furu and everyone in it, man, woman, and child. Azusa felt the worry settle on her shoulders. Aren't you strong enough to handle these guys? You keep saying you're one of the strongest ninjas in the world, Saya exclaimed, looking at the blonde wildly. Naruto slowly shook his head. Not Akatsuki, they're extremely strong, and while I can probably defeat one of them on my own, I doubt that I can defeat two of them working together, and they always travel in pairs. Naruto replied, that's why it's safer to travel from place to place, so I'll be harder to track. Not to mention Killer Bee here, Naruto said, motioning to his friend. With him fighting alongside me, the two of us have a better chance at handling anything they might throw at us. Then why might you never come back? If the two of you can beat them, why wouldn't you come back to Furu? Saya asked. Never is assuming that I'm dead. Even with our combined strength, the two of us are on our own. Before, I at least had the Hidden Leaf watching my back, Naruto said. These guys can likely take on an entire hidden village by themselves. The weakest of them is at least Kage level. So you're just going to leave like that? Saya asked, something in her voice tugging at Azusa's heart. Naruto's expression showed hints of him feeling the same tugging. Silence descended upon the four of them, Killer Bee staying quiet for once. Naruto was the one to break the silence. Saya, I guess I need to apologize to you. I was way over the line. Naruto apologized, I was just jealous, I guess. You were such a constant in my life, and just the thought of you giving any time to that bastard Keitaro, I guess I just lost it. Naruto raised his hand to scratch the back of his head sheepishly, smiling weakly at the brunette, a habit he'd had since he was a kid. I didn't want to leave on such bad terms, especially since I'm not sure when I'll see you again, Naruto said, or even if I would see you again. So I'm sorry. Saya just silently stared back at him, her face expressionless. Azusa couldn't help but let out a small sigh. The girl had reacted in a similar manner when her parents had been killed. Whenever Saya felt hurt, she closed herself up. Yo, Naradog, why don't you come with? Killer Bee suggested. Saya's eyes snapped to the cloud nin at his suggestion. Azusa felt like slapping the man. At the very least, Naruto and Saya were going to part on a bittersweet note. Now, they might not even have that. Saya might have fought to keep Naruto in her life, but Azusa knew that the girl would not so easily decide to leave her home for a friend she couldn't even admit she liked. However, before Saya's hesitance could hurt Naruto's feelings, Naruto spoke up. Not happening, he said, shooting down Killer Bee's suggestion. It'll be too dangerous on the road. If we do happen to encounter Akatsuki, she'd be easily killed. I do know a little medical ninjutsu, Saya protested weakly. These guys can literally kill you before your brain realizes that you're dead. Naruto said, his voice taking a no-nonsense tone. None of you can come. And what if they decide to target us while you're away? Azusa asked. There would be nothing to stop them. They won't. Naruto said confidently. Akatsuki's only agenda is capturing me. They don't care about a town as unknown as Furu, and I plan on letting them see me far away from here so they don't even come into the area. Nothing will happen to Furu, rest assured. If you really want to avoid Akatsuki, then let's get going. Killer Bee said. I doubt they'll be taking their time getting here. Yeah. Naruto said softly, though he didn't move. So that's it? Saya asked quietly. Yeah. Naruto replied, that's it. The two just stood, either able to think of anything to say. They had gotten so comfortable together, that now that they might be separated for a long time, the feeling of separation left a larger hole in their hearts than it might have otherwise. What you want, a cookie? Naruto said suddenly, grinning. Saya couldn't help but giggle at the old joke. You're the worst, Saya said, feeling slightly better. Yet you still love me, Naruto said, cringing slightly, expecting the usual blow from Saya that he usually received after saying things like that, but none came. Saya just stood there, staring at him, wide-eyed. Naruto's eyes slightly widened. Saya, Naruto said, stepping closer to the brunette, putting his hands on her shoulders. Azusa watched the scene avidly. This might be the first time that either teen acknowledged the attraction each had for each other. Naruto, Saya whispered back, unconsciously leaning forward ever so slightly. And Killer Bee, we on the rap attack, layin' the smack on the whack. Shut up! Everybody yelled, turning to him. Killer Bee slowly backed off into the corner, his hands raised in surrender. Shaking his head, Naruto turned back to Saya, his hands still on her shoulders. He leaned his face towards hers, his lips parting ever so slightly and… Psych! Azusa and Saya regarded the blonde, completely taken by surprise. Wahahaha! You should have seen the looks on your faces. Naruto laughed, holding onto the table in mirth. You looked like somebody killed your puppy. Ahahaha! So this whole leaving thing is a joke? Saya asked, the beginnings of anger showing on her face. Naruto shook his head. No, I'm still leaving, but I'll be back for sure. He said, still chuckling. It might be a few months, but I'll be back. Saya shot the blonde a calculating look. Naruto looked at her, puzzled. Still, a month is a long time. I don't want to wait that long, Saya told him, an odd flush on her face. Naruto tilted his head in confusion. What do you mean? Naruto, I've decided that, Saya started, placing her hand over her heart. If I am going to lose my virginity, I want it to be with someone I trust. Will you? Really? Naruto asked, flabbergasted. You want me to? Azusa sighed, shaking her head. He never learned. Saya punched the hopeful blonde in the face. Hell no! But, Azusa thought, smiling, at least things will be alright. Saya sighed once again, absent-mindedly wiping a mug clean. It had already been 2 weeks since Naruto had left on his road trip with Killer Bee, and she couldn't remember the last time she had been this bored. It was the usual slow time, meaning nobody was in the bar apart from her. Azusa was at the hospital and Full was off doing who knows what. It was quite ironic that ever since Naruto left, Saya only then realized exactly how much she might miss him had he really left permanently. The blonde really did bring a lot of happiness into her life. Perhaps a bit too much, since now she was bored to death without him here. Ah! Saya screamed in her head, for once, I just wish something interesting could happen around here. Unknown to Saya, her wish was soon about to come true. Outside Fura stood a dark-haired figure, regarding the village with cold eyes. He wore a dark cloak embroidered with puffy red clouds. Help! Naruto cried out, his voice taking an oddly high pitch. Help me, Killer Bee! Killer Bee turned around at the sound of his name, noticing Naruto running towards him. The blonde was clad in boxers and a bucket hat only, and Killer Bee just knew that this had something to do with a woman. What's wrong, Blonde Fry? Killer Bee asked. You gotta help me, man, Naruto said, looking about frantically. What's wrong, Whisker Cake? Killer Bee repeated. What's wrong? What's wrong? Naruto cried out, grabbing the taller man by the front of his vest. What's wrong? Is that bitch be crazy? Get back here, Blondie! Oh shit! Naruto looked back, before taking off again. A few seconds later, a blonde girl ran past Killer Bee after the whiskered blonde, yelling things that made the Kumo Nin cringe. Killer Bee watched the deranged beauty chase her prey into the sunset. Alright, y'all. Gather round, Killer Bee suddenly exclaimed. The people walking in the streets paused, staring at the man, though some increased their pace to get away from him. Yo, I'm on a quest here to wreck, so don't be a sap and listen to Killer Bee's rap. The dark-skinned Jinchuriki started rapping, and if things start to go south, we still got the potty mouth. Nobody answered. I said, we still got the potty mouth, Killer Bee repeated. Nobody answered. Killer Bee whipped around, finding Naruto chatting up a pretty woman, who was blushing at his no-doubt lewd comments. Naruto, Killer Bee called angrily, that's your signal. Naruto distractedly looked at him, laughing at the girl's blushing reaction to something he had mentioned. Huh, he replied eloquently, still chuckling lightly. How is the audience gonna enjoy Killer Bee and the potty mouth if the potty mouth ain't here? Killer Bee roared, stomping his foot on the ground in frustration. Let's get this show on the road. What the hell are you talking about? Naruto asked, confused. What show? What audience? The Kumo-nin pointed at the people behind him, not even looking back. That audience. Naruto looked at him as if he were a lunatic, before turning back to the redhead who had slowly been growing impatient. Then Killer Bee turned around, only to see that nobody was there. What the? Hey! He yelled, running after the people that had left. Come back here. Killer Bee was about to get busy. And so, the three little pigs gathered in the third house, which was made of bricks. The teacher read aloud, showing her students the pictures in the book. Her young students watched and listened, wide-eyed and attentive. And the wolf came again. He said, Your house won't stop me. But the three little pigs laughed, saying, You can't blow down our brick house. The pretty teacher read from the book, turning the page and showing the children the pictures. She smiled at their attentiveness. To her, teaching was more than just a job. Working with these adorable young children was her life. The very innocence each child had was worth more than any salary. And the wolf said, Well then I'll huff, she continued, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house dash up. Naruto suddenly exclaimed, walking past the open window, Man, it was gory. There was blood everywhere, and all these body parts lying around. They didn't stand a chance. The teacher stared, open-mouthed, as the blonde and his large companion walked away, openly laughing at the gruesome aspects of people that had been blown up. And then she heard a small hiccup. Turning back to the source of the sound, she noticed a cute little girl with pigtails start to cry. Seisen-sensei! She wailed, and soon, the rest of her classmates joined in, crying at Naruto's inadvertent alternate ending to the timeless classic. And it was all like Ayaha. Save us, and then kaboom! Naruto could be heard saying in the distance, as the teacher tried to comfort her now scarred-for-life kids. Oh my god! Someone exclaimed, attracting the attention of the two Jinchuriki, He's gonna jump! Naruto and Killer Bee walked over to the gathered crowd, spotting a man who was standing at the edge of a rather tall building. The man in question stared down at the people with a forlorn expression on his face. Daisuke! Screamed a woman nearby. Daisuke, why are you doing this? I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand it anymore. I can't, Daisuke replied, sounding defeated. I can't do this anymore. But Daisuke, you're rich and happy. This isn't like you. Someone else replied, this time a man. Daisuke snarled back at him. You don't know me. You don't what it's like to be me. The distraught man screamed down. What? Naruto shouted back at him, cupping his hands around his mouth to amplify his voice. The suicidal man looked at the blonde. You don't know me. Could you repeat that? I couldn't hear you. Naruto continued to shout at the man. I said, you don't know me. Daisuke shouted back. Oh. Okay. I know that. Naruto once again shouted back. What do you mean? Daisuke asked. What I mean is that of course I don't know you. Are you an idiot or something? The woman next to Naruto violently pulled on his arm, interrupting him. Ow, what the foo? What are you doing? She furiously whispered, glaring at him. You'll make him jump. Naruto shrugged. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. The mischievous blonde replied. Daisuke interrupted them. Don't try to stop me. He screamed down, I'm going to jump. Okay. Naruto screamed back up at him, stepping forward directly beneath where the man would land should he jump. What? Daisuke shouted. Go ahead! Naruto shouted at him, jump on down here. Daisuke faltered, shaking. A piece of paper suddenly fell from his pocket, floating down to Naruto, who snatched it out of the air. Opening it, Naruto quickly scanned the contents. A suicide note? He said to himself. After reading it, Naruto sent a quick glance at the woman who had yanked his arm. Daisuke seemed to have understood what happened. You see. Now do you understand why? Daisuke shouted, tears in his eyes. Naruto rolled his eyes before replying. Naruto shouted back, pointing to a particular word on the sheet, you misspelled useless. Daisuke let out a choked sob and a wail, before flinging himself off the roof of the building, eliciting shrieks and cries from the tentatively watching crowd. Naruto watched as the screaming man fell towards him, on a straight path for collision. The blonde surreptitiously snapped off a few quick hand seals, waiting for the man to impact him. Right before the falling man would have smacked into Naruto, the blonde took a large step back, allowing the man to hit the ground instead. Daisuke! The woman shrieked, rushing forward, pushing Naruto out of the way. To her great surprise, the suicidal man had not died on impact. Daisuke lay on the ground, groaning in pain, but otherwise fine. Wide-eyed, she looked back, only to see that the blonde had disappeared. Already a ways away, Killer Bee chuckled. Naruto sent him a sidelong glance. What's so funny? Naruto asked. I didn't know you had a heart, Cubester. Killer Bee said. I thought I was gonna have to save him, but I saw you do your jutsu. Naruto shrugged. So why'd you do it? Killer Bee asked. Naruto smirked, taking out the forgotten suicide note from his pocket. That woman was his girlfriend. Naruto replied, handing the paper to Killer Bee, and I slept with her, yeah, I got it. Killer Bee finished, shaking his head. You really are something else, Blondie. Bwahaha. Killer Bee roared in laughter, spotting a flash of blonde near the entrance of the bar. That's the guy right there. Oh, Naruto. Naruto looked over to where Killer Bee was seated and walked over. Yo. Naruto replied, what's up? Killer Bee nodded towards his seatmates, 3 other males who were riffling through a deck of cards. Join us for a game, we need a 5th, Killer Bee said. Sure. Naruto replied, but unfortunately, there was no extra chair for the blonde. Let me just get a chair, Naruto said, looking around. He instantly spotted a free chair at a table where a lone blonde woman sat, drinking from a wine glass. Already grinning, Naruto walked over. The woman looked at him with a slight smile, spotting his approach. Hey there, Naruto said, greeting the woman with a flirtatious smile. Oh, hello, she replied, smiling back. Naruto's smile morphed into a winning grin. Is this seat taken? He asked, and he saw a spark of happiness in the woman's eyes. He was probably the first, worthy, man to approach her all night. Not at all. The pretty blonde replied, watching his every move. Maybe her night might not be so bad after all. Cool, thanks, Naruto replied smilingly. Then he took the chair and left, leaving her looking like a gaping fish. Killer Bee watched Naruto standing at the edge of a building, peeking around the corner. Walking up to the blonde, the large man stopped right behind him. What you up to, Whiskers Lice? Killer Bee whispered, peed on a naked woman again? Naruto turned his head slightly to acknowledge his traveling companion. I told you that was an accident, Naruto whispered back furiously, giving the Kumonin the evil eye, and I'm playing a prank with my Kage Bunshin, check it out. Killer Bee watched the scene unfold, as the Naruto clone ran up to a couple out for a walk with their young kids. Hey! The Naruto clone called, at which the couple turned and looked at him curiously. Naruto slowed to a stop as he caught up with the family, pretending to be breathing heavy from his run. Hey, wanna see a dead body? The Naruto clone asked. Huh? The husband replied, confused. Without waiting for a reply, the Naruto clone took out a kunai and stabbed himself, showering blood onto the horror-struck family before falling to the ground. Ayawa! They all shrieked simultaneously, staring at the dead body in horror. Ahahaha! The real Naruto laughed, clutching onto Killer Bee to keep himself from falling. Beside him, Killer Bee looked at the blonde in amazement. It was he just sheep's blood, ahaha. Naruto explained, still chuckling at his prank. Glancing once again at the still screaming family, now covered in sheep's blood, Killer Bee could only shake his head. Man, you're a real fucked up person, Naruto. Man, that was a great 3 weeks. Naruto said to Killer Bee, so much fuelwin. Killer Bee gave him a bemused look. It's only been 4 days, Blondosaurus Rex. Killer Bee said, you were just too drunk to notice. What? Naruto said in response, no way, eh? It's true. Killer Bee replied, nodding, as a matter of fact, you're drunk right now. Naruto looked at the ground. Indeed, it was swaying. Or was it he that was swaying? Huh. How about that? Killer Bee and Naruto walked down the dusty path, surrounded by nothing but forestry. They were headed towards the nearest neighboring town, and the route they were taking was the quickest. However, it was also a very deserted road, meaning they had no chance of blending into a crowd should they encounter an unwanted situation. Hey! Killer Bee suddenly spoke up, attracting Naruto's attention. Look! Killer Bee gestured towards a figure of a man lying against a tree, blood seeping all around him. The two Jinchuriki cautiously approached, lest it be a trap. Up close, they noticed that the man was not a ninja. He's dead? Naruto spoke aloud, peering closely at the body. Killer Bee reached out and pressed his fingers against the man's wrist, feeling for a pulse. No, the dark-skinned man replied, he's barely alive. You mean he's mostly dead? Naruto replied. Killer Bee looked at him thoughtfully. Isn't that the same thing? He asked. I think so. Naruto replied, tapping his chin contemplatively. I mean, if you have half a glass of water, then it's either half empty or half full. But they mean the same thing, right? Yup. Killer Bee replied, nodding his head sagely. What's that called again? Optometry and pacifism? Killer Bee snapped his fingers in recognition. Yeah, that's it. He said, Naruto, you're such a pacifist. Shut up, you damn optometrist. Naruto joked back, so, what should we do with this mostly dead guy? I guess we should rush him to a hospital. The man suddenly convulsed, causing both ninjas to jump back reflexively. It was just in time as well, as the man suddenly exploded. The two Jinchurikis watched the scene with no small amount of surprise. Well, Naruto slowly commented, I guess he's completely dead now. That's pretty disgusting. Killer Bee said, I wonder why that happened? Naruto shrugged. Maybe it was a trap, the blonde suggested. Killer Bee nodded understandingly. Then should we just be standing around here? He asked. Probably not. Naruto replied, but hey, what can you do? We can't just not stand. True. The two stood around in silence, watching the gruesome remains of the body with thoughtful impressions, when two others suddenly stepped out from the bushes. Well, look who it is. Deidara and Haiden stepped out into the open, grinning at the two Jinchuriki. Looks like we caught some beasts with our trap, yeah? Deidara said, leering. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Are you a fucking retard or something? He asked, smirking. We knew you were there the whole time. Inwardly, Naruto was thinking something else. Fucking shit, I didn't even notice these fuckers. Oi, Deidara. Let's spill some blood, the other Akatsuki member said, grinning. Naruto looked over at him. Who the fuck are you? He asked, never having seen him before. Akatsuki letting just anyone join these days? Fuck you. Haiden cursed, I'll fucking gut you like a fish. This is Haiden. Deidara introduced, he's immortal. Haiden looked at the two Jinchuriki smugly, slinging his red scythe onto his shoulders. Naruto looked over at Killer Bee, who had been quietly observing, no doubt taking in information on their two deadly enemies. Or thinking up a rap. Naruto never knew with him. So which one you wanna kill, B? Naruto asked casually, bomb dude or immortal guy? We could flip a coin for tails or head, but it doesn't really matter cause they already dead. Killer Bee rapped. Deidara grinned. Interesting, yeah? I wonder how you'll do against my art, the blonde said. Art? Art is a blast. Deidara said with great vigor, my explosions are a true art. True art only lasts for a few moments, but you'll remember it for the rest of your life. Kind of like a stillbirth? Naruto offered. Yeah. Kind of like a Deidara started, trailing off and glaring at the blonde man, fuck you. Yeah, he's pretty mean. Killer Bee said, but anyway, let's get you killed. You can try. Deidara said, reaching into his pocket and letting his hand-mouths chew on some clay. Naruto absent-mindedly noticed that the blonde XIWA mean had both his arms again. Man, this is fucked up. I was just beginning to enjoy my vacation, Naruto said, readying himself. Oh Jashin-sama, Bless this blood which I am about to take. Hayden prayed. And there was a flurry of movement. Killer Bee punched Deidara in the side of the head, ignoring the small spiders that the three-mouthed man had released. The blonde missing nin fell back, avoiding another fist from the heavy-set Kumo Jinchuriki. Just then, the clay spiders that Deidara had planted on his body exploded. Deidara grinned, having tricked the dark-skinned Kumo nin, but to his great surprise Killer Bee stepped out from the smoke, unharmed. Killer Bee leered at the blonde, grinning and cracking his knuckles. You can't beat the ox's power. Killer Bee explained, it allows me to harden my skin to the point where not even the sharpest sword can cut through it. Your little explosions are nothing. Deidara grit his teeth at Killer Bee's proclamation. Damn it, Deidara swore, those spiders were made of my special clay too. His abilities completely nullifies Hayden's and mine's. This isn't looking too good. Meanwhile, Hayden swung his red scythe, aiming to slash across Naruto's chest, but the blonde had jumped over the immortal, summoning his sword in the air. Swinging, Naruto's sword met Hayden's scythe with a loud clang. With his other hand, Naruto summoned another sword and once again tried to lop Hayden's head off, but the immortal simply turned his scythe, blocking Naruto's second swipe with the second blade attached to his scythe. Still in the momentum of his jump, Naruto let go of his swords, opting to land and attack from another position, but Hayden swung at him again, not allowing the blonde to land. Right before Naruto was about to be slashed, the blonde summoned his wind-natured chakra and pushed, narrowly avoiding Hayden's deadly attack by moving further back in midair. Hayden clutched his throat, coughing as Naruto's small gust of wind blew something into his mouth. Instead of opting to cough up whatever had gone into his mouth, Naruto watched the scythe-wielding immortal swallow it instead. You're not very smart, are you? Naruto asked, giving the man an odd smile. You bastard! Hayden shouted, I'm going to drain every drop of your blood from your rotting corpse. Won't you upset your leader if you try to kill me? Naruto asked curiously. Fuck him! Hayden cursed, he ain't been the same since that orange-masked motherfucker turned traitor. If the blonde Jinchuriki found that information to be important, he didn't show it. Well, you've already lost, Naruto said. Fuck you! I'm immortal, I can't die, Hayden replied. Well, then have fun living in pieces, Naruto said. Hayden looked at him, confused. The hell are you talking about? The perpetually enraged Akatsuki nin asked. Explosion say swat. Naruto smirked, speaking faster than Hayden could hear. What? Boom! Killer Bee and Deidara suddenly looked towards their respective partners after witnessing the ground-shaking explosion. Smoke was rising from a small crater where Hayden had been standing. All that was left of him were his feet and other assortments of body parts that were no longer distinguishable. Miraculously, Hayden's head was still intact. And it was also still alive, and cursing up a storm at the blonde Jinchuriki. Fuck you! I'll fucking idiot, Naruto said, turning his attention to Killer Bee and Deidara. He swallowed my bomb. I think it's safe to say that he just got. Don't say it, Killer Bee said suddenly. Narutound. Bastard. Just wait till I. Killer Bee turned back to Deidara, shaking his head at Naruto's joke, who looked between the two Jinchuriki, unsure of what to do. The Kumo Jinchuriki spoke first. Now then, it's your turn to die, and Killer Bee will be the guy. Deidara glowered at him. I'm not as easy to defeat as Hayden, the ninja said. Besides, who says that I'm really here? Fuck you, Deidara. Get my body back, you. Naruto's eyes widened at his proclamation. Bee, get away! He shouted, gathering Killer Bee's attention. It's a bomb! The Deidara clone suddenly puffed up and started glowing, cracks and fissures running up and down his body and face. Killer Bee looked back at Deidara in surprise. Oh sure. Kaboom! Well, he's gone, Naruto commented, speaking of Deidara. Killer Bee nodded sagely. He was pretty weak. Killer Bee said. I could have killed him easily. He isn't as weak as you're making him out to be. Naruto warned his fellow demon container. You were the worst possible enemy for him because of your steel skin technique. None of his smaller explosions could have hurt you. But generally, he's pretty strong from what I remember. What about this guy? Killer Bee said, looking down at Hayden's head. His immortality is the only thing that he has going for him, Naruto said, ignoring Hayden's vehement cursing. I didn't give him the chance to show off any of his other abilities. We should get going, Killer Bee said. There'll be a crowd here soon. Yeah, Naruto replied, before looking down at Haiden's head, grinning evilly. Haiden paused in his cursing, getting a foreboding feeling. Actually, you go on ahead and I'll catch up, Naruto said, the mischief in his voice evident. I need to take a leak. Killer Bee left, grinning and shaking his head fondly. Hey, that guy. Hey, no. What the fuck are you doing? No. I'll fucking kill you. No, Don a half. Saya looked fearfully at the spinning crimson eyes. I can't believe it's going to end like this. Tears trailed down her cheeks. The dark-haired man brought out a kunai, clearly meaning to end her life. Around them, the village of Furu burned. I want to see you again. The man's arm blurred towards her face. Saya instinctively shut her eyes. Naruto. There was the disgusting sound of a kunai piercing flesh. Then darkness. Naruto. Naruto shivered. Stopping suddenly, Naruto looked behind him, the direction at which Furu was located. Beside him, Killer Bee also paused, looking at the blonde curiously. That sounded like Saya, Naruto thought. What's wrong, potty blonde? Kirabi asked. Naruto shook his head. Nothing, Naruto replied, must have been my imagination. Let's go. And he kept on walking, leaving Furu behind him. Once in the next town, Naruto immediately spotted his next sexual conquest. Though he could only see the back of the dark brown-haired woman, the slim figure, despite being covered up modestly, assured him she was likely drop-dead gorgeous. He stepped beside her, slipping his arm around her shoulder. Hey there, Gorjo, oh my god, you're Niji. Niji stepped away from the blonde, shrugging off the blonde's arm, gaping at him. Naruto. And Niji. Niji took a single step back, surprised at the sight, not having seen the blonde for years. The two eyed each other in shock, but it was Niji that spoke first. Vaginal sex, he blurted out. Naruto's mouth popped open, before closing, as he gave the white-eyed man a confused look. What? Niji shook his head. I mean, I don't swing that way, Niji said, shuddering. Killer Bee took the time to properly introduce himself. Wahahoho. The dark-skinned Kumonin laughed, bent over and slapping his hands on his thighs. He thinks you're. Ahahaha. Naruto gave his fellow Jinchuriki an annoyed glance before turning back to the misled Hyuga. Oh no, it's not like that. Ahaha, I thought you were a girl. Uzumaki Naruto is 100% straight, Naruto said, laughing awkwardly. At Naruto's words, Niji visibly relaxed. It was then that Naruto truly realized the situation he was in. Ah shit. It must have been visible on his face, because Niji seemed to have realized it as well. Naruto was quick to jump to his base plan. It's good to see you, man, Naruto exclaimed. Niji smiled and nodded. Likewise. The Hyuga ninja replied, however, you will be coming back to Konoha with me regardless. And the gig is up, Naruto thought forlornly. But he would die fighting. What if I told you that Konoha would blow up if I went back? Naruto said. Niji shrugged, easily smelling the bullshit. Then, we'll have to build a new village, Niji replied before turning to Killer Bee. Who are you? Yo, my name is Killer Bee, and as you can see, I am a Kumonin and I was born to win. Kurabi rapped. Naruto shook his head. Ignore him. He's just some no-talent bum that started following me around, Naruto said, hiding a grin as Killer Bee gave him an annoyed look. So what brings you to the town of? The whiskered blonde paused, and looked at Killer Bee. What's the name of this town anyway? He asked. Killer Bee shrugged. No clue, came the shrugging reply. Naruto turned back to Niji. The town in which I will undeniably get some, the blonde told his old comrade, smirking. Niji smirked back. We'll see if you will undeniably get some when we return to Konoha, Niji replied, causing Naruto to flinch slightly. Anyway, it no longer matters why I'm here. Now that I have found you, my new first priority is to get you back to Konoha. I'll be killed. You only have a C-class bingo book rating. I'll be tortured. I doubt Tsunade-sama will let that come to pass. I'll be raped. No doubt you will enjoy it. I'll be. This is getting old really fast, Naruto. Niji interrupted, frowning. Now come, we must gather my teammates. Naruto shuddered at the mention of Niji's teammates. Does Lee still wear that really gay outfit? Naruto asked, shuddering again. Niji nodded. Both he and Guy-sensei, Niji replied. Then, both he and Naruto shuddered. By Guy, do you mean Mato Guy? Killer Bee spoke up. Niji nodded in confirmation. Then Killer Bee shuddered. I've seen that guy before. Bee has never seen a man that likes such tight clothes, he said, shuddering again. You think that's bad? Naruto replied, whimpering. His student wears the same type of clothing. And they hug. Naruto, Niji, and Killer Bee all shuddered together. I feel like I'm forgetting someone else on your team, Naruto said, stroking his chin in thought. Niji shrugged. And they didn't give it another thought. Fortunately, they are not my teammates for this mission, Niji said. Naruto let out a sigh of relief. He definitely didn't want a hug from Lee. Who you with? Nero asked curiously. Kurenai-sensei, Hinata-sama, and Dog Boy, Niji replied, glancing around, before taking out a pen and a scroll and scrawling something across it. He whistled, and immediately, a bird swooped out of the sky, landing on the Hyuga's outstretched arm. Niji rolled up the scroll and handed it to the bird, which flew off. Naruto and Killer Bee watched him with dismay. You really are serious, Naruto declared. You're going to take me back to Konoha? Niji nodded. You can't, Killer Bee exclaimed, gathering the Jounin's attention. We were vacationing. We were just about to smack the whack with our rap attack. Naruto nodded sagely. He's right. Our whack-smacking rap attacking was just about ready for cracking, the blonde said, at which Killer Bee looked at him in amazement. Hey! That wasn't half bad, Blonderella. Naruto shrugged. After watching you, I got an idea of what not to do, Naruto said, effectively killing any joy the Kumo-nin might have felt. Killer Bee hung his head sadly. Niji ignored their plight. Come, Niji said, turning, we're going to meet up with Kurenai-sensei. Can I skip out on that? Naruto asked. Kurenai wasn't always my biggest fan back in the day. No. Follow me, Niji replied, walking. Helplessly, Naruto and Killer Bee followed after him. What if I catch up with you later? Naruto asked. I got a Papa Dookie. A what? Niji asked. You know I have to drop my kids off at the pool. You have children? Niji asked, giving the blonde a raised eyebrow in disbelief. He means that he's going to make chocolate fudge brownies. Killer Bee spoke up, trying to explain. This didn't help Niji in the slightest. Why would he need to make brownies? For his children? Naruto smacked his forehead. Oh, come on, man. The big brown man is knocking on my back door. You're not even inside of a house, Niji said. I don't understand you at all. Come on, man. He needs to chop a log, Killer Bee said, eyeing Niji in exasperation. Is he a part-time lumberjack of some sort? Gah. Niji. I need to audit my assets, Naruto said, emphasizing at the right part. I wasn't aware that you owned property, Niji replied, looking slightly impressed. Kirabi gave the Hyuga a suspicious glance. He's coiling a steamer? He asked, getting a feel for Niji's ignorance. Niji shook his head, not understanding. The large Kumo shinobi looked at Naruto, slightly surprised. Naruto looked back, before snapping his eyes back towards the Hyuga. I need to bury an elf, Naruto said, testing the waters as well. Niji closed his eyes and shook his head exasperatedly. Elves don't exist, Naruto. Suddenly, Naruto and Killer Bee simultaneously grinned. He wants to build a Dookie castle. I have to drill for mud bunnies. We gotta be quick, cause he's going to give a dirty birth. There are some kittens I have to drown. He wants to honk out a dirt snake. I need to floss. He's going to force the duck to quack. I need to vacate the premises. He has to dig for some fertilizer. There's going to be a full moon over the troubled waters. He's going to ignite the rectal rocket. I have to plant a bouquet of brown roses. He's got to pinch the chimp. The turtle wants to poke its head out. He has to rock his rectum. I'm going to pollute the pond. He wants to watch a dolphin splash. I need to unleash the unholy Leviathan. He's going to go void his bowels. What the hell are you two talking about? Niji finally snapped, glaring at the two of them, Byakugan activated for the intimidation factor. Naruto and Killer Bee erupted in laughter. Dude, haha, Naruto gasped, clutching his aching sides, I need to take a shit. Niji gave them a disbelieving look, still unsure of what they were talking about. Then he went over some of the things they had said. Then, much to their amusement and continued laughter, he palmed his face. That was the most he started, but decided that some things were better off left unsaid. The trio finally reached their destination, where there were people waiting for them. Yohei Kurenai, Hyuga Hinata, Inuzuka Kiba, and an insanely large dog by the name of Akamaru. Niji Nizan, we got your message, Hinata started immediately, trailing off as she caught sight of Naruto. Naruto-kun, she thought, surprised to see the blonde. The laughter died from Naruto's face. Hinata Naruto whispered. The two eyed each other for a moment, surprised to see each other, despite knowing about it beforehand. Nobody else spoke, looking at the two shinobi. Hinata, you bitch! Naruto suddenly spat, causing everybody to look at him in shock. Hinata also gazed at him in surprise, wide-eyed at the sudden vehemence. Naruto-kun? Hinata said warily. You cheated on me. Naruto reacted, roaring, I can't stand to be in Konoha because of that. Why do you think I left? But Naruto-kun, Hinata started, her face reddening. No buts. I can't be in Konoha with the one who broke my heart, Naruto said, pointing straight at the girl. Hinata watched him with a quivering lip and a shocked expression. Tears slowly sprung to the tip of her eyes. Niji interrupted once more. Ignore him, Hinata-sama. He's making it up so he doesn't have to go back to Konoha, Niji said, shaking his head in exasperation. Naruto clutched his shirt where his heart was, glaring at Niji. How can you deny the feelings that are in my here? Yeah, never mind. Nothing ever works with you. Naruto cut himself off, smoothing out his shirt. Hinata relaxed. Naruto smiled at her. Let's start over. What's up, Hinata? Naruto asked, grinning. Hinata just smiled back at him. Naruto-kun. Kurenai-sensei. Kiba suddenly cut in, sending his teacher a warning message. Kiba-kun? Kurina replied. Kiba turned to Niji. Niji. Niji nodded, tapping the side of his head, pointing at his eyes. Killer Bee suddenly shifted, clenching Naruto's shoulder. B? Naruto asked, turning his head towards the Kumo-nin. K-I-R-A-B-I. All heads turned to the source of the shout, as Killer Bee froze in place, standing rigidly. Slowly, he turned his head to see a blonde woman with a braided ponytail. And she did not look happy. Hey, Yuji Karabi started, only to be whacked in the face with a thrown novel, titled Twilight. Naruto had never felt such hatred as he did when he caught sight of it. Don't Yujito me. Where the hell have you been? Yujito roared at him, your brother's been up my butt about finding you. What I wouldn't give to be your brother, B. Naruto commented, smirking. Yujito gave him a look. Naruto whimpered. Who the hell are you? Yujito asked, her voice immediately calm. Karabi let out a deep sigh of relief. Naruto was likely to bear the brunt of the force that the violent girl was no doubt about to give. Uzumaki Naruto, at your service. Say, how about me and you show these commoners that blondes have way more fun? Naruto said, grinning slyly. Yujito eyed him, and then looked back at the nervous bee. Huh, was all she said. What's up, Yujito? Killer Bee tentatively asked. Yujito looked back at him. I can't decide who's more annoying, you or Fishcake over here, she replied. Naruto ignored her comment. Well, Fishcake is delicious, so I'll take that as a compliment, Naruto said before waggling his eyebrows. So do you want to taste some fish cake? Yujito nodded. Hinata blushed at Naruto's comment. Definitely him, she said. Kurenai took this moment to step forward. Excuse me, Yujito-san. The raven-haired beauty said, this man is a Konoha missing nin, and we are under duty to escort him back to Konoha. It would not help us if you mauled him, so perhaps we can strike